3, 6 o'clock. Commissioner Olson, will you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Any of the commissioners have conflicts, declarations of conflict of interest?
Nope.
On item of the combining lots,
Okay.
we will be combining a lot or two lots together.
All right, and then I've also got I own a nightly rental, and I own a business in town, and I also own agricultural properties, so there is that. Okay, everybody look at the agenda, see any issues with that? Need any changes made? Okay.
Fine.
Okay. I would actually like to move, on the business items, I would like to move business item 9 to where business item 5 is. Whoops.
I make a motion to approve the minutes.
Oh, there were no minutes, so we don't have minutes to do that today.
Okay.
So it's just agenda order.
Sorry.
Yeah. So item number 9, business item number 9 to be business item number 5, and business item 5 to be in 9. And one more change, if we get this far tonight, would be in the discussion items. I would like to move discussion item 3 to 1 and 1 to 3.
3 is 1 and 1 is 3?
Sorry, 2.
What did I say?
2, yeah.
Thank you for correcting me. Yep, 2 to 1 and 1 to 2.
Okay. I'm moving those items.
Yep.
I make a motion that we move business item number 9 and switch places with number 5. So 9 will be in 5's place and 5 will be in 9's place. And then I also make a motion that on discussion items, 1 will move to 2 and 2 will move to 1.
Got a motion in the second. Take a vote.
Aye.
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 Okay. All right. This will move us to the public forum. This is an opportunity for the public to address any item that is not on the agenda tonight. If it is, we'll have a public hearing for that item. So if anybody would like to step up to the mic and address anything that's not on the agenda, I will now open the public forum. So that would be something that's on the agenda. We'll talk to them.
And Mark, live down in Shangri-La. I'm here in the name of Jesus and our Father and Creator. Give thanks to allegiance to both our Father and Creator and Jesus and to this country. And then what I want to do is, remind you, everybody that represents Tokerville, especially in a civil duty aspect, that they represent the people and should be doing that in peace and harmony and safety for the people, and honor your oath and back it up with your surety bond, one not for each and every one of the representatives. And then down in Shangri-La, also just to remember that it's a place of that word connotates, like tranquility or serenity or things like that. So just listen to that and do your job well and think it is for the people. As it says on the motto, 1858, it's the people. So anyhow, thanks.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay, I will close the public forum, which will take us to the business items. Oh, I'm sorry, reports. I don't have anything to report. Commissioners, do you have anything to report?
No.
Planning and zoning. Darren,
So if anybody if you guys have had that opportunity to look at the new zone map yet, I don't know if you have. A super great tool. It's right on our web page, right under maps. Go take a look at it. It's actually a better tool. I've had some people tell me it's a better tool than the county's website. It'll pull up our ordinance. It will pull up the county websites, and it'll give you ownership. Very interactive map that you can work with. You can print. You can see on the left there, it talks about the purposes of the zone, why it's directly related. Those come right out of our land management code. And so go in and mess around with that, play with it. It's a very good tool. So
I do have one question. Can I look up the parcel numbers on this map?
yes.
So, and I
So if
didn't,
you zoom in, Daisy, could you zoom in on just one right there? So let's pick City Hall. So if you click that right there on the top right where it says account ID, I believe, I can't click on that, would you, Daisy? And it'll pull open another. No, I'm sorry. Come down to the thing you just popped open. Yeah, the blue right there. There you go. Okay. Click on a different one. Click on a different one real quick. Yeah, mine's working perfect.
This one might be.
Okay, well, I will, but could you click on one more though, that again, Daisy, for me? So if you click on there's some little arrows back and forth up there. You can go to different things. There's one thing we've noticed that every acreage is the same, which we know it's not. And then it'll actually, you can flip through those. There's 3 tabs up there. And as you flip through those, you can actually click on those and they'll take you to who the owners of that property, which isn't working. But then you can also see the zone. It'll tell you the zone. So you can see the zone is right there. So you wouldn't have to have the legend, which is on the right, but you can mess around with the layers there at the top right. You can turn the layers on and off so you can use it just as a kind of a guide. And the nice thing is as the county updates the ownership maps, if there's any surveys or any subdivisions or any changes in ownership type of things, this updates with that. So it's all interactive and tied directly to the county's GIS system.
I really liked it. I just went in. I really want to see the property, and I got this.
Okay, I will let them know.
Good as getting
That
to
is
the county
interesting.
website.
I'll let them know that we're having an issue with that. And there's a couple other things. I was actually talking with her this morning about the acreages that are all the exact same. And I noticed there was a couple of other little things in there, but we were working for the most part though. This is a super great tool for you to go in and just check zoning. You can see that. And then like I say, the layers over there on the right, you can mess with those and turn them on and off, the zoning districts, the different things. So, and then you can also turn on the legend again if you wonder what that zone color is. So anyway, I would invite everybody in the city to definitely go in and take a look at that. It's a good active tool.
Thank you. Anything else?
I have at this point. I have other things later in or Riker. I don't know if Riker has anything.
No, I don't have anything to report right now.
All right, that will take us from reports to business items. Business item 1 is discussion on a nightly rental application submitted by McKelly and Sarah Peart, tax ID number T82. Current zoning is neighborhood commercial.
I thought we were good too.
No, that's on the discussion items. So, so discussion items,
Gotcha.
2 to 1. This is 5 to 9. Okay, staff comments. Let me, staff comments on this. Application is complete as per code 1017.3. Parking has been verified on site. The following comments are from the JUC. And this is going to be on all of them, I believe, from now on, which is the Hurricane Valley Fire Special Service District fire. Fire inspection will be required. Has staff got anything further?
So, I'm sorry, I missed your question.
Have you got anything to add?
Oh, yeah. So, just for your information, this application was submitted prior to the limited moratorium. That's why it's before you today. It's, as you read in the staff comments, it's been reviewed and is deemed complete per 10-17-3 of the Tocqueville City Code. And it's before you for discussion and possible recommendation.
Any of the,
Yeah, Chairman, there's a letter that was submitted
Oh.
for public comment. It's from Jay Scott, and it says, "Dear members of the Tocqueville Planning Commission, we've had the privilege of seeing the proposed nightly rental property a few months ago and visiting with the property owners. It seems to us to be a nice place and well-planned. The location is great as far as we are concerned. We have no objection to this proposal." So,
okay, all right. Okay, any of the commissioners have any questions for staff?
Looked okay to me.
Okay.
However,
Go ahead.
we have a moratorium on, right?
Yeah.
So how do we handle that? Do we approve it? If,
So these were submitted prior to the moratorium.
okay,
So they're.
so they're okay.
Yeah, they were
All right.
already in the process.
Okay, is the applicant here? Do you have anything you'd like to add? If you would, you can come up and talk about it.
No, not unless you have questions for us.
Yeah, do any of the commissioners have questions for the applicant?
Not on this one.
Yeah, pretty much. Okay. All right, then if we have no more questions, I will open this up for the public hearing. Public input is sought on a nightly rental application submitted by McKelly and Sarah Peart, tax ID number T-82. Current zoning is neighborhood commercial. If anybody has anything they'd like to say, step up to the mic and state your name. Nothing? Okay, I'll take a motion to close the public hearing.
I make a motion that we've closed the public hearing.
Got a motion in a second. Take a vote.
Aye.
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 Okay.
Recommendation.
If we don't have anything further, I'll take a motion or a discussion.
I'll make a motion that we approve item F1.
That, it would be E1.
D1? F.
E1.
Business is F. Why do I got a goofy one?
It's E1. It might be a printed out the way it printed.
Is it?
All right, we'll do that again. I'll make a motion, we approve business item E1, nightly rental application from McKelly and Sarah Peart
With staff comments.
with staff comments.
I second it.
I got a motion and a second. Any need for further discussion?
I went ahead, sorry.
No? Okay, I'll take a vote.
Aye.
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 Okay, takes us to business item 2. Okay, business item 2 is discussion on nightly rental application submitted by Jake and Rachel Pearce. Tax ID number is T-TEA-B-8. Current zoning is R120, single family residential. Staff comments were the application is complete as per the code 1017.3. Parking has been verified on site, and the same comment for a fire inspection will be required. Staff, have you got anything further on for that?
Just again to note that it was submitted prior to the moratorium, so it's exempt from that.
So
And,
all of these that
all
we're
4
seeing
of them,
tonight
yes.
are, so
Mhm.
we understand that, okay.
and
Just a question, if it's submitted before the moratorium, if there's something in here that does not, or that doesn't comply with our current code,
Yeah, you would just review it as the current code stands.
Current code.
That's the one that is in effect right now, even through the moratorium. so.
okay, well, on this one, it's not an issue, I don't think. but on
Yes,
the
this
other
one there is an issue.
Well, we'll have the applicant, do you want to address this?
So the issue you're probably worried about is the part of the code where we don't live in Tokerville and the current code requires that you live in Tokerville.
Right.
The reason that we're applying despite that is because we've been to several several city meetings, and we've heard multiple times that that's discrimination to have that in the code, and so we're applying despite that.
Okay.
Do you have any other questions for me? The attorney's the one that said that multiple times. in
Anybody
city
have any
meetings.
other questions for him?
The concern from the attorney is that it could potentially violate the equal protection clause. of the
Yeah, and
Constitution.
that is why we're looking at, one of the reasons we have it in moratorium, or we're looking at it.
Right.
However, the current code is kind of what we're looking at, so we'll have to make our decisions based on that. Okay. Anything else?
No, I think it's all pretty straightforward.
Thank you. All right, I will open this up for, unless anybody has more questions.
No.
I'll open this up for a public hearing. Public input is sought on nightly rental application submitted by Jake and Rachel Peart, tax ID T-TEA-B-8. Current zoning is R120. If you do, you can step up to the mic. You have 3 minutes, and please state your name and address.
Chris Butterworth, just checking, when you said it's discriminatory, we did have a large, not with this body here, but some may remember, we had a big facilitated session on nightly rentals, and there was a lot of decisions made at that time. And so I'm hearing now those are all being overturned. Was that, so that was.
Not all overturned, but
Okay.
we'll get into that discussion a little bit later tonight.
Oh.
If you were stick around, you might be able to hear some of those things as
Okay.
well, so.
My name's Leif Bjornson. I live up on Tokerville Heights, pretty close to the Parrots property there. Just so you know, I actually support the idea of being able to live in a separate city and still have either a full-time rental, or I guess the issue now is a nightly rental. Is that what it is, Jake? I totally support that. Not sure. I mean, there's theories as to the problem, how it can be problematic, I guess, if you're living in a different town. You can't address issues that come up immediately, and there's probably a lot of other things. But I'm in favor of changing that ordinance and support the idea of actually making it so you can do a nightly rental and or vacation rental and still not have to live in the same town. Thanks.
I have a question. Just wondering if you're planning to read the emails that were sent to you?
Yeah,
Oh, Angela Harrison.
yeah, and we're going to do that here shortly.
Okay, great, thanks.
Anybody else? Would you read those, please?
Yeah, the first letter is from Brenda Butterfield. She was at 1685 South View Drive regarding Jake and Rachel Peart, the nightly rental application. It says Dear Council, but Commission. I have been a resident of Tokerville for 11 years and love this city. I am writing this letter in opposition to the request for a nightly rental application. These rentals increase traffic noise and impact the value of our property. I hope we can continue as the residential neighborhood we desired when we bought our home. Thank you for your support and of our community's regards. That's the first one. The second letter is from Wendy, and her last name is, I think it's Degua, but it's Deguaua. It says, I'm a resident of 1659 South Rimview Drive, Tokerville, Utah. I'm writing to object to the rental change of property of Jake Peart. When I moved here 11 years ago, it was because of community feeling and peaceful with few rentals around. If the rental change is permitted, then anyone can turn into apartments. I hope you will consider my request. Thank you. P.S. Also, this property has been neglected since the Pearts moved. So there's that. Then this says, the third one is from Chantel Lyman, and it says, hi, I'm the property owner of lot, and then it describes her legal description in Tokerville Heights. I'm unable to attend the Planning Commission public hearing on March 8th, so I'm sending my comments below. I'm unsure if the proposed properties will be owned by a current Tokerville residents or not, so just wanted to give my opinion and perspective on non-owner occupied nightly rentals, as well as the number of rentals that will be allowed in the future. Thank you. Comments? My name is Chantel Lyman. I am planning to build a home on our lot on Chaparral Drive in Tokerville Heights next year. My family and I are excited to move to Tokerville. I grew up here, and I love living in a small town where friends feel more like family. Of all the places we could put down roots, Tokerville stood out as a place we felt our kids could thrive and be surrounded by a village of people who care about them. We hope to preserve that close-knit, small town community feel both now and in the future. And Daisy, I just want to make sure that you have the timer going. Okay, I want to begin by saying I think there are lots of benefits to nightly rentals. Nightly rentals often provide a more affordable option for travelers. They're a great option for traveling families with the convenience of bedrooms and a kitchen. My family has used Airbnb when vacationing for this very reason. And they can be a great way for property owners to earn extra income. In sum, I am in support of having owner-occupied nightly rentals where the property owner lives on site to manage guests and ensure guests are following rules. I, however, do not support the approval of additional nightly rentals in the neighborhoods that are non-owner occupied. Here are my concerns with non-owner occupied rentals. 1, safety. I have 4 children, ages 3 through 9, who will be playing on our street. I am uncomfortable with strangers coming in and out of the neighborhood each week or as often as every few days without a property owner at the home to manage the guests. 2 is noise and partying. People go on vacation to have fun. With this, there can sometimes be extra noise and partying. This has greater potential to become a problem without an owner on site to enforce rules and quiet hours. 3 is the housing shortage. Non-owner occupied rentals contribute to a housing shortage in Tokerville. With each house that becomes a nightly rental, that is one less house available for a family to make their home and become part of our community. My biggest concern of all is the amount of nightly rentals on our street, both owner-occupied and non-owner-occupied. There are currently 2 nightly rentals operating on Chaparral Drive based on listings I have viewed on Airbnb. One of these lists the home capacity as 14 guests, which I believe violates the 10-guest rule. If the 2 new proposed properties on Chaparral Drive are approved, it would make for 4 nightly rentals on our street alone. This doesn't include any other nightly rentals on Rimview or Ash Creek. My family chose to build our home in Tokerville in hopes of living in a family-friendly neighborhood with other children for our kids to play with and grow up with, a place where we can get to know our neighbors and build lasting friendships with them. If more nightly rentals continue to be approved, our neighborhood could become saturated with them, turning it into a vacation destination rather than a residential, family-friendly neighborhood. So I think it would be wise to consider placing a limit on the number of nightly rentals allowed in each neighborhood. Here are some possible solutions to consider for, okay.
Anybody else have any comments or anything you want to bring up now? Go ahead. You have to step up to the mic. State your name. Thank you.
I'm Angela Harrison. I'll just read the last part of that there wasn't time for. It was my daughter that wrote the letter.
Okay.
And she had some really good solutions actually that I think might be worth considering. The first one is distinguish between an owner-occupied nightly rental and a non-owner occupied nightly rental. have a separate policy for each. Limit the number of nightly rental licenses. It is important to limit this by neighborhood, otherwise one area of Tokerville, like Tokerville Heights, could become saturated. And the third idea she had is implement zoning for non-owner occupied nightly rentals. For individuals interested in operating a non-owner occupied nightly rental, create a future development area for nightly rentals. This will keep non-owner occupied nightly rentals out of residential neighborhoods while still giving investors an opportunity to have a rental property in Tokerville. Thank you for listening to my perspective and concerns.
Thank you. Anything further? Okay, I will close the public hearing on item 2, business item 2. Is there any need for discussion?
Just
or-
one comment that in the old standard and in the new one that we're looking at, both say 300 feet between nightly rentals or minimum or 500 feet.
I don't, the
No.
current code doesn't have a
Current code
spacing.
doesn't have anything.
Oh, I thought it
That
did.
was to notify residents within.
That's what
300 feet.
this is what we're working on.
Okay.
Yeah. So our current code does not have a spacing.
Just we have to notify.
So I got a comment on it. Any for comments?
Yeah.
Planning Commission, we cannot push this through because we're bound by the code. Until that gets passed, which is probably going to be next month, Jake. I'd appreciate it if you could wait, hold this off, not disqualify you, but I'm going to vote no because that's what's vested in me. I have to, and you should know that, because it doesn't meet the residency requirement. But he doesn't live in Tokerville anymore. So we're bound by that.
I've got a quick question for staff on that. So a denial tonight, would that be, you would have to resubmit?
It'll still
for-
be recommended to council.
That's right, right. What I'm trying to say is if he were to be denied by council, his application is denied, he'd have to resubmit. Right?
Yes.
Would he have to start all over with the permit again?
Right.
Which that's the risk.
Yeah,
that's-
And falls under the new
Yeah,
guidelines.
that's the risk.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You.
Well, yeah, we know where we're at on that.
So your options are to approve, approve with conditions or
Or
deny.
or
Or
recommend.
you could table it.
All right. If we don't have anything else, I'll take a motion.
I'll make a motion that we recommend denial of this based on current code. Should have a citizen comments, but we still will. Yeah, denial based on current code.
And that being
Recommend
the
denial, sorry.
non-residential.
Non-residential.
Okay, got a motion. I'll take a second.
I was thinking about that. But I want to ask about the tabling of it. Just for the fact that it was submitted, but I think he's willing to wait. If we table it, then he won't have to pay those fees again and start all over, but maybe the right thing to do is what the code says and deny it.
6 months.
Doesn't give us,
Well, if there's,
does it give me the option?
applicant's asking for decision.
the thing is, Jake
Are
was
you-
on the planning commission,
So, yeah.
made,
No. I'll second it.
So I have a motion and a second. Any further need to discuss this? Okay, I'll take a vote.
Aye.
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 Hi.
Thank you. All right, this takes us to business item 3, discussion on a nightly rental application submitted by Kathleen Lee. Tax ID number T-TEA-B-13. Current zoning is R120, single family residential. Get my computer shut off here. Okay, staff comments are Staff comments are the application is complete as per the code 1017.3. Parking has been verified on site, and the same comment, a fire inspection will be required. There is a note in here from the building inspector. I'll read it. Kathleen Lee nightly rental application. My initial comments were that the building department would not be able to sign off on her application due to some trade-offs we did in regards to some stairs to go to a loft in the ADU. I have talked with Kathleen, and she is going to come up with some sort of remedy that would make those stairs be code compliant for transient people. Until she comes up with and constructs a fix, we will not approve her application. But if she makes the changes so that the building will be code compliant, we will approve. Staff, have you got anything further for us on that?
No, those staff comments were pretty comprehensive, just that if it is recommended for approval, it would be conditional upon that.
Yeah, okay. All right. Commissioner, do you have anything to ask?
No.
Is the applicant here? If you want to step up, well. Have you got any questions for the applicant?
Hey, guys.
So are you aware of what the building inspector is looking for?
I am. So, Sean, I sent Daisy some pictures. Is it okay if I share those pictures with you?
Well, we can't look at those right now. Do we have those in our file?
Yeah, you have them in your SharePoint.
Under,
Right there.
oh, there we go. That'll work. So
So there is, if you can thumb through there, Daisy, there's a picture. Sorry, there's a lot of pictures. I just
yeah,
sent
if we just
everything.
pulled up the stairs, I think that's our concern
No,
right
there's
now.
actually a picture, like a hand-drawn picture, if you can keep going. Keep going. I'm giving you guys a tour. It's a free tour. I'm not going to charge you.
Pretty nice place.
Oh, and it's the only picture that didn't come up. So John has been nice enough to actually work with me. Like I've sent him like back and forth ideas, even on Saturdays. But we have decided to blockade that area off, and I made a sign for it. And I sent him the sign, and I sent this sign. I emailed it. I might actually just be able
Right
to show
there,
you on my
right
phone. There. So I just had that printed up on metal. It's on a big metal placard, and they just will deny access to that.
But as of now, he hasn't approved.
No, he approved it.
Oh, he did?
He
Did we
approved it
We can verify that with him tomorrow.
Okay.
a week and a half ago. It was about a week and a half ago. He said, "Yep, that works great." So
Okay.
So can you explain to me where these stairs are at and why they can't use them?
it's a stair. It's not really stairs, and
Is that their, that's
Is
not
it
the
that
only access
walkway?
in there, right?
it's a ladder access.
To the law.
Is that the access you're expecting them to use?
No, it's not required. It was just for a bonus room, and so it's not actually needed.
So how do they get to the bonus room?
They won't be
allow.
allowed in there. That's why I'm hanging that sign that says that there's no access.
So he's not requiring you to block that off, physically block it off, just a sign.
We'll be roping it off with the sign so that people won't go past there. Just like if you went to a museum and they have that sign that says authorized personnel only, it has to look like that. So it's a metal sign. It's pretty sturdy. And rope it off.
Okay.
Good.
Yep. Thank you. I'm sorry. Does anybody have another question for her?
No.
Okay.
I do have a question. Aren't they required to have a second exit? You can't just have a place where you
Well-
can only get in and out one door.
So no, it's not, but I do want to ask her questions. So yeah, would you say, we're not in the public hearing. I'm
Not
sorry.
yet, or
Yeah,
you-
not yet. I'll open that up just after we get all the information out, then I will open the public hearing so we can all be better informed. Would you mind answering that question right there? Just so we have a little better idea of what, sorry, you had to set down.
So My husband's a general contractor. He actually knows the answer to that.
So based upon building codes, under a certain square footage, this is 375 square feet. It is only one egress and ingress, but in the bedroom, there are 2 windows that open for egress there also.
But did you combine it with the house? So now it's more than 300.
But it's a breeze
It's,
between.
it's combined with a breezeway.
But that, didn't you do that to make it part of the house?
Yes.
Well, it's considered
To
under
fit-
one
to fit
roof.
Code?
It's considered under one roof, but that doesn't make the square footages of each home the same square footage.
But they're one home, but they're one home when you combined it and put a breezeway and connected the two.
It makes it one home.
Are
That's
the
why the
windows
code is that way.
downstairs?
The main home's only 600 square feet, so we're still only at 900 square feet.
And am I wrong that I think a window can be an egress, right?
It is
As long as it
considered-
meets
It is.
fire code,
Ground level.
it only needs one door
And the
and a
windows Are
window.
on the same level.
The building inspector had an issue with was that he didn't want the
Yeah,
ladders
so
to go off.
I think
Right.
we're
That was-
delving into something we don't really need to be there. It's a good question.
They got windows there.
Okay.
Good.
Any other questions before I have sit down and ask them? Okay,
No.
thank you. Appreciate it. Okay, I will now open this up to public hearing. Public input is sought on the nightly rental application submitted by Kathleen Lee, tax ID number T-TEA-B-13. Current zoning is R120, single family residential. I now open up the public hearing. Anybody want to make a comment?
Leif Bjornson, live up on Tocqueville Heights, within 300 feet of Kathleen. So just, I'll probably most likely keep this short. First of all, I do support the idea of a nightly rental for sure, as I supported what Jake Peart is trying to do also on his, and even though he's not a resident. And I'm hoping you guys can consider that and change that ordinance. But the idea of having to attach, when you do an Airbnb or you do a nightly rental, or a rental, well, let's stick with Airbnb nightly rental. The idea of having to attach it, I understand some of the logic behind that, and I know that's your ordinance, where you have to have it attached to the primary residence. But I'm hoping that you guys will look at that and make a change, so where you can change it to where you don't have to have it attached. I believe you made them attach it with a roof. Is that what the requirement was? So it's kind of like a breezeway between the two. Is that the idea?
That was the way they handled it. Yeah.
I understand, well, I don't understand very much of the logic of it. I know that it is an ordinance, part of the ordinance of that, but I'm hoping you guys will look at that and maybe make a change on that to where you don't have to have those two structures attached and still allow Airbnbs. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments? Oh, yep, thank you.
And then we have one that was sent to us. This is from Tana Hall. She lives at 1565 Chaparral Drive. She said, to the Tocqueville Planning Commission, I'm writing this letter as a neighbor of Kathleen Lee. Kathleen has been my neighbor for several years. Recently, she reached out to me to discuss the possibility of having a nightly rental on her property. I think this would be a great business venture for her. So on Kathleen's behalf and as her next door neighbor, I want to express my confidence in her as a business owner of a nightly rental. In my experience with Kathleen, I believe that she would be a wonderful and responsible landlord if approved to run a nightly rental, and that it would be a positive asset to Tocqueville. Kathleen is hardworking and has successfully run her own business for many years. In addition, she has experience doing many different types of jobs and working with a variety of people, which will help her be successful. Please feel free to contact me further if needed. Tana Hall.
Any other comment? Okay, I will close the public hearing.
Got a motion?
Well, unless we have a need to discuss.
Got 3 people that don't like it and 3 people that don't care.
Okay, then we'll take a motion.
To close the public hearing or to
I can
approve her?
I've already closed the public
Okay.
hearing. I'm just looking for a motion on the application.
Okay, I make a motion that we approve her application, the application for, whoops, wait a minute, let's get the thing. For Kathleen Lee, tax ID number TTEA-B-13. With, as long as we make sure that the signage and everything got taken care of, like, it's,
And
she's
then-
saying it has.
And that the building inspector has
And that-
signed off on it.
Right, the building inspector signed off on it,
And
but we recommend it to be approved
And
And staff comments.
and include staff comments. Thank you.
I'd second that.
Got a motion. I have a second. We'll take a vote.
Aye.
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 Okay. Business item. Four. Discussion on nightly rental application submitted by Trudy Bissell, tax ID number T-141-E-E1. Current zoning is Ag 1, agriculture. Staff comments are the application is complete as per code 1017.3. Parking has been verified on site and the same comments of fire inspection will be required. Staff, have you got anything further on that?
There are no additional comments on that.
Comments? Okay. Planning Commission, have you got any questions on that?
Yeah, this is a similar situation to Jake's, right? She
I'm not
She is
100%
not a
sure about
resident.
that. so
she
we'll have
lives
to-
out of the city, right?
The applicant's
No.
here. Applicant, would you mind standing up here for us? Thank you, sir.
Obvious.
So if we have any questions for him, we could ask those now. if
Okay.
you'd like to do that.
I thought,
It shows a different address that he actually does reference.
oh, okay, it does show a different address. That was what was confusing. Okay.
I'm obviously not Trudy. I'm her husband.
Yes, you're not. Trudy.
But will you live at the address of the nightly rental?
A nightly rental.
You live at the address of the nightly rental?
So just to clarify, Commissioner Pressler, is
Mhm.
that right? So you said it's similar to Jake's situation, and in one way it could be similar to Jake's situation, in another it's not. As I first wanted to say this, I've been on several boards, and I always hate the way that we get to speak first and then all the other comment, because we don't get to rebuttal what they've
Oh.
said. But with that being said, the one small difference is that the IRS tax code requires you to declare a primary residency. And this is a joint residency. We are here as much as we are at the other address. And I think some of my neighbors may be able to verify that. We spend as much time as we can here. And the plan is, I'm 63 years old, is to be here when I'm 65. So that's the plan. We had the opportunity to buy that 11 acres. If you can look at that, it is 11 acres. And our house is right in the middle of the 11 acres. We had that opportunity to get that. So as far as residency, the code actually reads nightly rental owners, residents that are absent from Tokerville for periods of times exceeding 14 days every calendar month during which nightly rentals are available for occupancy or occurring or do not meet the residency requirements of the city. So I guess my residency is really somewhat into question, because there are times when I'm here more, a lot more than that, and there are times when I'm right on that threshold. But we are here at 50-50. I even offered to the county clerk that maybe I could get file tax, separate taxes, to have two primary residents. But they wouldn't allow that. So that's it. And do I have time to explain a couple
So
of things?
when we open this up for the public hearing, you will have the opportunity.
I can
to
do
come back
public
up
hearing
and
at the
You
time?
can do
Okay.
that as well, yeah. Have we got any other questions for him?
So simple question then. Do you live here or not?
It's like I said, we're about 50-50. I don't have to bring clothes when I come here because my house is stocked. What we intend on renting is the basement. If we don't get this permit, we would probably rent it out full-time, but I will address that during a public hearing.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Oops.
He could do it now because
He's the
during,
applicant.
he's the applicant.
Oh, okay.
He'll
All
only
right.
have 3 minutes during the,
Okay.
Now your 3 minutes starts. No, I'm fine with that. You can take that now, or you could maybe hear some of the comments, and then you might have a
Okay,
better
I'll
ability
come
to
back.
address that.
I'll come back.
Okay. Okay, any other questions for anybody here? Any thoughts? I'm going to open up a public hearing on this. I just didn't know if you would have any more questions for him. Okay, I will open a public hearing for item 4. Public input is sought on nightly rental application submitted by Trudy Bissell, tax ID number T-141-E1. Current zoning is Ag 1. If anybody would like to step up, we are now open to the public hearing.
My name is Sarah Walsh, and I serve as power of attorney for my family. We live at 596 Westfield Road, which is a property that is back up right against this property. And we have, as from what I'm hearing right now, we are quite confused as to what exactly the intent of is for this rental property. Because with this being an 11-acre property, we immediately got the impression that, because we were not given any information of what it was going to entail, that they were wanting to build a whole bunch of buildings and stuff on there for rentals. It said nightly rentals. It said multiple. And we sent in a letter that is a huge objection to anything like that. We have agricultural and animals, and we are constantly being harassed and threatened by the water district about water and stuff on our own agricultural property, which we get really sick and tired of. My father is a 25-year veteran firefighter, EMT, paramedic, first responder. He passed away 2 years ago, and he has fought up until the day he died, trying to get people to stop harassing us about our water issues and everything on our property so that we could take care of our property and prevent it from becoming a fire hazard. And if we cannot have the sufficient water that we need and stuff and not be harassed, there is no way that something big should be going in around us in an area that should be agricultural. If they're just wanting to rent their building, they're part of the house out, okay, that's one thing. That might be different, but we were not given sufficient information to know just what their intent was. But if they are planning to build multiple buildings and stuff, we have sent in a letter giving our great objection to that because we have animals that would be impacted. We're constantly harassed about water, and nothing should be built if there's not water to be provided. And so I won't take the time now to read our long letter, but you guys do have the letter that we emailed in. So just know that depend on what the exact intent is, we object to it because we do not need to have our animals on our farm impacted. Plus, we know that area over there, and there's not a sufficient public access to a big rental property over there without impacting residents around them. And we haven't even had the privilege of meeting these new residents yet. We knew who lived there before, but we have not had the privilege of meeting them yet. And so we do not want anything happening behind it that could greatly affect our rights to sufficient water for our property, to our animals, to the other needs of our property. If we're not allowed to have sufficient things that we need, we don't want to see stuff like this going in around us that would take up more water and stuff that we're not allowed to have. Thank you.
Thank you.
Will Hutchings, live on Westfield Road. Actually, the Beisel's neighbor. We share a lane that accesses both of our homes. And yeah, I believe it's just the basement rental, nightly rental. I've agreed to be an emergency contact on any of their stays, just short walk down the road to their house. And they are here. It's, I would say, as much as they're not. And I've taken it upon myself. I help with their water and help with, fences, whatever needs to be done. So, it being right in the middle of the acreage that it is, it seems like the impact of it would be quite minimal to anybody but myself, my family, and right there, obviously. But that's all I've got. So.
Thank you.
Justin Sipp, 152 West Sunset Avenue. I live directly south of the Bissells, and I see them on a regular basis. We go to dinner when they're in town, and they're here quite often. And I'm also, if they a contact, if they need, if Will's out of town, I'm there. I can just walk across the field to them. So that's my opinion. They're at the basement only, and I think it'll be good. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? If you want to say something, you can.
Thank you for those who have spoken, and I'm sorry I haven't met you anywhere but at church. we do see you at church all the time. It is the basement only, and the thing I was going to say earlier is I've had an Airbnb before, and the reason that we're applying for this rather than just renting this out is my wife and I have actually felt like our experience in renting long-term, it's been a greater financial burden to us than an Airbnb. We have a lot more control over an Airbnb. It's generally 2 or 3 nights. We can go in and see if there's any damage done and fix it immediately, which with our Airbnb that we had at our previous location, the biggest thing that ever happened was the king-size pillows got stolen. That was it. But with long-term rentals, we would, even with inspections monthly, when they moved out, we'd find that there were things, pet damage when they weren't supposed to have pets, different things. So we feel like we can control it better with us being there as much as we are. We don't feel like there's a problem. We're going to be upstairs to whoever rents it. Like Will and Angel said, they're right there. I talk to the mayor all the time. I wasn't going to bring that up, but I'm glad he did. And we just don't feel like it's a burden to anybody. Airbnbs, people who rent them get ratings. When they ask you if they can rent, they actually get a rating. They rate us as the Airbnb operator, and we rate them as a person. And I don't have to accept somebody if I don't like their rating. And so we're pretty picky. And if you know my wife, she's listening. She's extremely picky. And so I would just like to be part of the community and have some way to help us offset. One thing I want to tell the Walshes too, Will can confirm this. I've let him put his horses there. My intent is to get these fences up and have my own animals there. Sorry, Will. That's all I have to say.
Hey, can I ask one question though?
No, you have to step up to the mic.
All I want to ask is, I don't understand this what's being passed for him all the way, and I just want to know, does it mean?
Could you tell me what your name?
Yeah, was it better?
Your name?
Oh, I'm Mary Walsh. And I just wanted to know, if this passes, does it mean that sometime in the future, if they decide to do something with the rest of the acreage, they'll be able to?
No.
This is just for that one residence.
Okay. I just wanted to make that clear. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments from the public? Okay. Look for a motion to close this.
I have a question. Oh,
What?
want a motion?
Well, If you, yeah,
Well, go ahead.
we'll do that. Looking for a motion to close the
I'll
public
make a
hearing.
motion to close the public.
I'll second.
Got a
I'll second
motion
it.
and a second to close the public hearing. Take a vote.
Aye.
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 Okay, now we will discuss it.
Okay, so I have a comment or a question for staff. In the current code, it states that they must meet the residency requirement of the city. What is that requirement?
Well,
Is
Must
it,
live in the
The
city.
14 days.
I can say in the
well,
code, it
or, it
says
says
14
and
days.
or.
And or.
I mean,
I'd have to check with legal
Well-
to tell you the truth.
50/50?
Because if, I would have to, there's no definition in the code. So I think I would have to really refer that to legal.
The
Because I-
well, and the residency requirement, I mean, it's a second.
I'm gonna think it's gonna be county recording that this is the primary residency.
But in the code, and I'll just throw this out there, and I know you've seen it, it does say the 14
Thank you.
days. And so if he's splitting 50/50, that's
That's
you know,
14 days.
pretty close to
usually.
14 days or so. And
Yeah.
On that, do you spend 14 day or more than 14 days away from this place in any
Calendar month.
calendar month?
I have to say yes, there has been, I did not come down here 14 days in July, last July. Okay? But I would say pretty much every other month, and especially February right now, and April, we have been here 14 days straight, as well as other days.
And I think in the code, it doesn't say that it has to be 14 days of when the rentals are being offered. Are you renting it?
Correct.
Yes,
when
it
you're not
does. Yeah.
here? Are you renting it in July when you're not here? I mean, I'm just saying, it just says, the residency requirement of the 14 days in the code says it has to be
Yeah.
in the months that, it doesn't say.
Somebody has to be
12 calendar
present.
months.
Says during
In the
which the
months
nightly
that
rental
it's
is.
being
Yeah.
Rented.
Right.
So that could be
Well-
a modification on approval, is to say that he could only rent it during the times that he's here. Right? Yeah.
There you go.
And
And your prerogative is to approve with conditions, deny, or
right,
table.
conditions on, yeah.
So,
But the conditions would have to be reasonable. They can't be
Right,
outside the code.
yes.
Currently doesn't meet the code because of the residency thing, the 14 days.
right, because it says and.
You're at 15 or 16 days, so you're inside and outside that window there.
I wish staff was here that's illegal.
Well, so the code says, skip along, jump. Well, I'll just start. Owner residency, the city's intent of nightly rental is to keep the residential feel throughout the community and hold the nightly rental owner resident accountable for their occupants. Nightly rental owners residents that are absent from Tokerville for periods of time exceeding 14 days every calendar month, during which nightly rentals are available for occupancy or occurring and or do not meet the residency requirements of the city. So
The residency
it's
requirements.
not just 14 days, it's and
Or
Residency requirements.
the residency. So it seems, I'm trying, but I just don't see it.
yeah, and I
The way I read it. In the red line.
So there again, if we say we can't approve it because of the ordinance
The
as it
resi-
stands right now, and we deny it, then he can come back again after we redo our ordinance, right? Okay,
It's under the new rules.
under the new rules.
And if there's
Rules are
if we
possible,
put
yeah.
a distance, I'm not saying we are or aren't, if we don't know, but if we put a distance, then he may be
That might affect,
prohibited from.
yeah, that might affect him.
Hey, Sean,
yes.
doesn't it, I actually feel like he needs the residence, like he lives here, someone who's here. As far as the other part where it says it's 14 days, so long as he's not renting it when he's gone, which he shouldn't be doing based on the code. You can't ask him if he abides by that. And knows he shouldn't be renting it if he's gone, right?
That's not what the code says. The code says if you're not here for 14 days of the month, that month is,
Mhm.
so if you're gone for 2 months straight, you're not supposed to allow it for those 2 months.
Right.
It doesn't say you can't rent it if you're not in the building.
And we've actually had this conversation before where we had somebody said, hey, I'm live here. I'm here for 8 months, but I've been gone for 4 months. Well, we said you cannot rent it during that 4 months.
Right.
However, the difference is that person lived here. We have one that's kind of definitely pushing that. So Afton, have you got
So I
something?
think
on
it just
Oh, you're just gonna- yeah.
matter of fairness. I mean, we
Yeah.
recommend denial on one because they don't live here.
there? Yeah, and
I mean, that's,
I would look for a motion on this unless we have anything further to discuss.
I have one more item just for staff and anybody. The road leading this is a private road, is that understood? For health, welfare, and safety, where's the nearest fire hydrant? Is that house protected under fire protection? 500 feet?
There's a fire hydrant by the house.
Right by the house? So it's just a private access. Is that a problem?
I believe that the fire department went out and checked that as well. And they will.
Being a small little lane or whatever, doesn't really matter.
They can, yeah, it meets the requirements for their 26 feet.
I mean, it
apart.
looks like rural Tocqueville, and that's how I like it.
And that private access was explained in JUC to the fire district, and they didn't have any comments regarding that.
looking for a motion.
Looking for a motion.
I'll make the motion. I'll find out where I'm at. I make a motion that we deny E4 nightly rental application for Trudy Bissell. Tax ID T141-E1.
Got a motion, looking for a second?
I'll second that.
Okay. Any need to further discuss this?
I don't think
Okay, I'll take a vote.
Aye.
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 Okay. Business item. Let's see, where are we at here? We're gonna go to number 9. So now we're gonna go to 9 on our.
Moved.
I'm sorry? Yes. ma'am.
And maybe let's just clarify that even if you're received a recommendation for denial tonight, that it's a recommendation, that it's not an actual denial or approval. So those will still move forward to city council,
Thank you for
just
that.
for the applicants, you know?
Okay.
So we skipped something, home occupation, didn't we?
Okay, so the next item is going to be, we're moving to business item 9, so it's been made 5 now, okay?
Okay.
So, next business item, discussion on zone change for applications submitted by Bob Litchfield, tax IDs, numbers. T-168-E, T-168-B-2-D, T-149-A-4-A, T-149-A-5, T-149-A-3, T-149-A-2A, T-150-A-2-B-1, and T-168-J. These are all currently zoned residential, R120, single-family residential. Let me get the staff comments here. Okay, staff comments are. The following application has been reviewed and deemed complete as per the code 1083. As per 10 11A-4 of the Tocqueville City Code, only one of the 8 parcels involved in this application meet the 20-acre minimum lot area requirement applicable to the MU20 multiple use zone. As per 10.8.3A of the Tocqueville City Code, the Planning Commission may recommend approval, modification, and approval or denial of the proposed zone amendment. Staff, have you got anything else for us on that?
There's no further comments on that.
Okay, no further comments. Commissioners, have you had any comments, thoughts, questions for the applicant?
I have a question. Jake, can you point out which parcel is the 28 acres?
Let's see, I don't think there's any, oh yeah, it's, yeah, there you go. So it's the T-168-B-2-D, which is that one right there. Yep. See where our mouse is at?
Yeah.
Daisy, would you do me a favor and pull up that zoning map of that, the zoning of this whole area, just so we can kind of see where that one is compared to anything around it. It's the zoning map.
It's that upper corner one right there.
Yeah, upper left, right?
Yep. That's the one that's 28 acres.
Yeah, well, I think this will work now.
That works. I understand.
We'll get into it. I'll ask her to pull that one up later. So.
That works. Thank you.
Okay.
Clarification, all of the ones that he wants to change to MU are in that upper left corner, or is that everything?
Everything that's highlighted in yellow.
In yellow.
Back to that, maybe that other one. There is a section in there that's not owned, that right there that's got where it says not changing, the highlighted yellow in the middle of that.
Little island.
Yeah, that's not owned by Robert Litchfield. So that is not being changed. Everything else around this is, as you can see, the blue is MU20, so everything's already zoned MU20. Obviously, they need to be 20-acre lots, so we're asking, we verified with staff, and we also verified with Heath Snow, the city attorney, that you could approve this conditionally. The condition being that obviously we need to merge some lots together and make sure that every parcel is at least 20-acre minimum. So we are bringing that to your attention, that we know that we'll need to make that. We're asking you to make that a condition tonight, that it's only approved upon the condition of making sure that every parcel in there is a minimum of 20 acres. Other than that, we don't see any reason that it shouldn't be changed.
Okay.
So,
Is that possible?
yeah, is that, I don't know if that's even possible.
So really-
You've got residential homes, multiple residential homes in parcels, and you can only have one residential home and an MU20.
No, you can have multiple residential
you
homes. I think you can, but it is still possible.
MU20 is one residential home,
Are you sure?
positive.
Well, it's still possible. You can divide the lots up however you want and still make them. I mean, you can still divide it up and make 20 acres in between the lots and parcels.
So in order to determine that, it would need to be surveyed to determine whether or not that's actually possible.
It's a condition. I mean, certainly if we can't do it, we can't do it, but that's a condition that we understand we have to make them 20-acre parcels. And you can add to that the homes have to, I want to read the code again to make sure that's correct, but.
Okay.
You got a
I'll
little
trust
speck
you.
in the middle, it's not changing.
Yeah, that's not owned by Robert Litchfield.
That creates him in a spot zone right there, doesn't it?
Spot zoning is not illegal.
Yeah, but it's not fair to the neighbors. If is there a house on there? On that little piece?
I'll let somebody else answer that.
Oh, you don't know if there's a house on the not changed piece? A home?
Well, I don't know what you consider home. It's tipping over, so I don't know.
Oh,
I mean, I don't know. It's not my property. I don't know about it.
Could anticipate be a home in there.
Okay.
I'm just wondering what's gonna happen around the MU20, around that surrounding R1, R20. R120.
Okay, let's open up the public hearing before we get into too deep of discussion here. Okay, any other questions for staff on this? Ms. Bitter?
No.
Okay, then I will open up this item for public hearing. Public input is sought on the, that doesn't tell me that. Sought on this application. Zone change to MU 20, T-168-E, T-168- a better way for me to do this without reading all of them. Can I just say on his application?
As per the item number.
Okay, as per the item number.
Yeah.
Item number 5. We're opening up a public hearing on item number 5. So.
Thank you. My
30
name's
minutes.
Dean Haymore. I live at 2180 South Sunshine Lane. I'm probably one of the biggest property owners that abut all of this property. I'm not going to have enough time to give you all the information I've had and researched on this. But first off, under Chapter 11, chapter of your code, zoning 10.10-11A-1, purpose for multiple use districts. I'll read it. A multiple use district is established in an area of mountainous, hillside, canyon, desert, and other open and generally undevelopable land where human habitat should be limited in order to protect the indigenous nature beauty of these areas and protect open space resources to reduce unreasonable requirements for public utilities, service extensions, and expenditures through unnecessary disturbance and scattering of population, to encourage the use of land where appropriate for appropriate raising, agricultural, wildlife, habit, recreation, and to minimize water pollution, soil erosion, danger from brushland fires, danger from watersheds, and danger to grazing and livestock habitat, to wildlife habitat and values, and to promote health, convenience, order, prosperity, and general welfare to the inhabitants of the city. Also, in the Title 10 of the Utah zoning, it reads the same thing, but it also says to avoid the scattering and premature subdivisions which would cause insufficient public services and facilities or necessary and excessive expenditures of public funds for the supply of such services and facility. So this doesn't even meet your current purpose of your own ordinance, of our ordinance. It's not yours, it's our ordinance. Where I live, I asked staff a month ago what to do. I wanted to send some pictures. I sent some pictures to show what it is now. And I showed, Jake called me just before he put this together and asked me if I wanted to go with them because that would increase the value of my land. And I explained to Jake, in no circumstances, that's the reason I bought my land, is to keep the rural life that I would want to live the rest of my life out. And I live on that whole top. Nobody knows where I live, but I look over. My property goes right down to the middle of the road, Bob Litchfield's, and it goes down to my neighbors right here and goes down to the Ash Creek. So the quality of life and everything else, Jake told me that they were looking to put an RV park in and that would increase the land value. And he said, well, don't you want to do this with your land? And Jake was my realtor. I like Jake. I've worked with Jake on 3 different transactions and everything else. And I know that he's doing his job that he's been hired to do for Bob Litchfield. But with this, it impacts me very much. And in the next portion, if this went under,
I'm sorry, I don't want to.
I knew I
cut
wouldn't
you
get
off. I
the
hate to be
whole
like
thing,
that,
but I wish you would look at those pictures I
thank you.
provided.
I did look at your pictures.
Okay.
I've seen them. I know. Okay, thank you.
Mark, I and my wife live right there in that center section right there. 3.56 acres. We've had this property in our interest since 1988 and actually 1985. But prior to all that, Bob and Patty Litchfield did not own all that property. It was individually owned by numerous owners, and I can name every one of them. Ever since that this place got conglomerated by one owner, and you guys put a master meter up there and seemed to call it a private canyon without consulting us, and you've taken now and want to change all this, and I have vested interest in other stuff there due to flood damage and filling in the creek things, due to communications with Bob and Patty Litchfield themselves and giving us everything to the south. And I told Jake about this. He was supposed to send me his phone number. He didn't. And there's been no communication. I've tried to speak with Bob, Robert Browning Litchfield numerous times, or Patty. And you people speak to him, or somebody on the town council does. Ty Bringsure says he talks to him weekly, sometimes 2 and 3 times a week, sometimes 2 or 3 times a day. So something's going on with this to be developed. And I've heard in the grapevine from several people down there that actually are in the family or work with the family to make it, to go after putting in around 400 to 500 or more RV parks. That would completely change the name Shangri-La. It would no longer be tranquility. It would no longer have peace and harmony. We've had a cabin on there that was taken out in the flood in 2005 due to things that were done by the Litchfield, pushing the floodplain table completely over from the bridge all the way down past the Robertson's old house, which is now where Tyler's residing. Anyway, I addressed the issue with him, speaking with him and stuff when he used to speak to me. Me and my wife worked for them at the Cross Creek Manor the first 2 years they were in business. So I know the family well. And Patty had a dream for there down there, and they've completely violated everything they had before. And now they're trying to make money. They've been making money. They have a voy, or whatever the name of that academy is down there, where they have kids and get over 10 grand a month for them. So they bring in over $1.2 million potentially or more per year. And it's licensed with a business office over in Hurricane. It's not even licensed with you guys. Then their Airbnbs, this zoning change you guys already did to accommodate Bob on some Zoom chat and whatnot. So this year, I'm so vehemently opposed to it that it goes against the whole freaking historical history of that canyon. And even Jose, who has been the ranch manager down there, I've asked him numerous times to the field to the north that they used to keep lush and green and whatnot. And they stopped watering it, stopped utilizing irrigation.
Appreciate your comments.
And it's turned into
your
dust.
time
You know?
is up, but
anyway,
thank you so much
yeah.
for your comments, man. I appreciate it. Have we got anybody else? Comments?
I would like to comment. Let me start my timer so that I don't run over.
She's got it over here for you.
Well,
so.
I know, but I want to see it
Okay.
myself so
All
I
right.
can get everything in.
That'll work.
Okay, so I just want to say good evening, commission members and
Oh,
staff.
Would you state your name?
I
please?
would like to do that. My name is Charlotte Potter, and I live down in the Shangri-La Valley as well. And I wanted to ask you before I start commenting that how many of you have been down into that valley and have thought to yourself, this place is simply beautiful, and I would love it if I could be here. I'm willing to bet most of you have said that to yourself when you've been down there. So to see this right here, I'm with Mark. That is, oh. So I'd like to tell you about my history with the valley down there. My grandparents bought a piece of property in Shangri-La in 1973, and my family has lived there ever since. I grew up there. My sister grew up there. We rode our horses. We had animals, and I have a lot of really great memories there. One thing that my grandparents discovered when they bought the property is what a historical gem they had when they bought this property. I don't know if you're aware of this or not, but the second night of the 1776 Dominguez Escalante expedition in Washington County was spent along the Ash Creek on my property. And over several days, the expedition members traded with the Paiutes, and that to me is something that we should definitely preserve. I have lived here my entire life. I left when I went to college, and I couldn't wait to come back because this is my home. And I love that I can lie in my hammock and I can listen to the creek and that there are animals running along the property. It's peaceful and quiet. I love the untouched beauty down there and the open spaces, and I can have my animals. And I also, probably the biggest thing is that I have a lifetime full of memories down there, just as it is. It's where I'm raising my family, and it's where my daughter will hopefully raise hers. And it's where I, like Dean Haymore, plan to live out the rest of my days. But over the last few years, things have changed down there. Mark brought up the trash, that's everything that's been washed out compared from the flood of 2005. We've got tons of trash on our property from events that happened upstream at that event center and the flooding that happened. We can't even get across the creek to clean it up because of an order from the county. We're getting increased graffiti on our property and in our canyons, and the loud music from the events, it intrudes our peace and quiet. There's also safety issues that I'm concerned about. We have constant trespassers during the weddings and events, and if you invite this thing down into our property, it will just be worse. Traffic is already scary. It's sketchy going up and down that little road right there. We are concerned about property damage. And I just want to say that greed and this money that's going into this is going to ruin this beautiful place for the rest of us. We'd like to keep it zoned as residential, and there's nowhere else like it. And ask yourself, if you were me, if you would want to live next to that. That's it.
Thank you. Well, perfect. Anybody else?
Anita Eaton, South Ash Creek Drive. The property that is being asked to be changed to zoning to MU20 originally was MU20. At the time that the Litchfields donated the property for the bypass road, they requested a zone change for property to become highway commercial. So that is highway commercial. That zone change was made from MU20 to highway commercial, and the property that is zoned as R120 was changed from MU20 to R120. So that has happened within the last 15 years, that the zone change from MU20 to R120. And now the applicant or the owner is requesting, or the applicant, the agent of the owner, is requesting that it go back. One of the items of importance is the restrictions on acreage for each and every zone. If you have a parcel that is R120, the minimum acreage is 20,000 square feet. The acreage for agriculture is 1 acre, and those restrictions are per house residential home. Single family residential. The city does not have any property or any zoning for multiple housing developments. So that takes care of duplexes, fourplexes, multi-towered housing. When you get down to the physical restrictions, the minimum lot area for MU20 is 20 acres. And so the description of MU20 is an open and spacious area. And now you have homes on there that qualify for R120, but they do not qualify for MU20 any longer. And that notification, that needs to be identified, that you cannot go backwards in zoning if you no longer meet the requirements of that zone. And the very first thing in this is minimum area, 20 acres. And so I would hope that, abiding by the zoning itself, the agent that made the request for this should have known that, because they themselves were on the planning commission. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments or Jake? Whoops, was there somebody else back there that wanted to go? Okay, you've got a couple more.
Kathleen, Chaparral Drive. I just wanted to take a second and I wanted to thank all of you guys on Planning Commission for donating your guys' time. I know that this is a big, huge pain in the neck because I was on Planning Commission too, right before all y'all got on there. And there's a reason why Planning Commission changes over so frequently because it is a hard job and we don't get paid for it. And we do recognize that you guys are also citizens of Tokerville. Like, you're not some bureaucrat off somewhere else. You live here too. So hopefully everybody else, recognizes that as well. And I also live in that same area, and I do appreciate living in a small town. And I know that you guys are sick of hearing that because every single time somebody comes in about a city issue, that's the first thing that comes up is like, I don't want it to grow and I don't want it to get bigger and I want it to stay exactly where it is, but it can't stay the way it is because it's always going to change. And so I wanted to give you a heads up that what I'd like to propose to City Council, because it's not just the Litchfield situation that's a problem, but there are a lot of issues around this bypass that I think are kind of tearing our community apart. And it doesn't have to be that way. I think that we can collectively come up with rational, reasonable solutions. So I would like to invite all of the Planning Commission to attend that meeting with City Council and everybody in this room, or everybody in Tokerville City, so that we can hash these problems out. And we have some brilliant minds in Tokerville City who should be on Planning Commission and they should be on City Council that aren't, that I think can offer up some great solutions for us to consider.
Okay, thank you.
Meeting with city council.
Hi. She may be doing a presentation with City Council is the way I understood it maybe, so.
Yeah, we'll continue with this.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Neil McDonnell. I live at 1656 South Ash Creek Drive. I seem to have sense of deja vu right now. We kind of just went through this very recently with the same landowner requesting a zone change. And I must say I was impressed with the way the Planning Commission handled that. You followed the code, you looked at the rules, and you followed them. And I appreciate that. I think we find ourselves in a very similar situation now. There are 9 standards and conditions that you need to look at in order to do a zone change, and not knowing what they want to do with the land and why they want to change the zone makes it almost impossible for you to look at more than half of those and give a reasonable answer. So I'm hoping you guys perform your duties properly like you did last time. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Jake, it looks like you're up.
All right. So,
Would you state your name? Just-
Jake Peart, the representative for Robert Litchfield. I reside in Hurricane. To Anita's point, it definitely does need to be 20 acres. We know that. Again, we'll make sure that they're all 20 acres. And if it's a requirement to have only one home per 20 acres, we'll make sure that's the case as well. Might have to build a breezeway. That's pretty famous in Tokerville. We'll do it. Whatever needs to be done, we can do. So please make that a condition. And to Dean Haymore's point, I actually didn't need to call you Dean, though I'm glad I did. Dean is actually MU20 as well, as you can see. So I called him without studying the map well enough and didn't realize he didn't need to go in on its own change with this. He's already MU20. So as you can see, including Charlotte, everything is MU20 around this property. And we'll make sure that we comply with the ordinances of that. And the purposes stated in MU20 are great as well. I think that valley matches that description about as good as anywhere in Tokerville.
I'm Karen. I live in Shangri-La with my husband, Mark. And I did want to compliment you from your last zoning. You guys did a wonderful job. And we were all shocked when the city council said yes. This is a small, beautiful piece of property. We've lived there for years. There's deer, quail, turkeys, and we've put up with the event center, we put up with their renting the houses with those fancy four-wheelers that zoom up and down the hill. So if the zoning changes, I just appreciate if you go through the 9. I don't believe that it meets the criteria that they feel. Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, I will look for a motion to close the public hearing.
I make a motion that we close the public hearing on business item 5 for the zone change for Bob Litchfield's property.
Second it.
Got a motion and a second. Take a vote.
Aye.
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 Okay. Open this up for discussion and ready to make a motion.
Well, I guess I don't like it because I'm growing tired of conditionals. That's a lot to bank on. Can you make it 20 acres? It's an unknown, it's totally unknown to me if that can actually happen. I'm curious about the law that if it's true, you can't zone and go back, rezone. But it doesn't fit because only one makes 20 acres.
I believe what she was saying as far as the lot, it was rezoned, then homes were built, and then going back to to the same zone and having these homes that are conflicting, maybe what she was trying to get at with that. I don't, as far as I know, there's nothing that says I can't zone it one and then later
Right.
say, oh, that's wrong, we need to rezone it. As long as what I did on that property would fit that zone that I would try to go for.
I think they need to, if they're going to combine lots, they need to combine lots and then come before us, because it seems to me they didn't do their homework before they brought this to planning commission.
We did our homework.
Okay.
You have to spend a lot of money to combine lots, and we aren't going to go spend a bunch of money unless we know that we do it.
Okay.
And that makes sense to me too, because I've been in that same
Just
spot.
looking at it,
before.
Jake, I can't imagine you got one that's 28 and the rest you can't take that same volume and make it 20 each for each one of those parcels. Impossible.
We can tear down a home if we need to.
You do what?
Tear down a home if we need to. You can make 20 acres on every one of those with one home. I'm still not sure that it's a one home requirement. I think it's not. I need to read the
And
zone
so
again. I don't think it's a
in
requirement.
either case, it's MU 20, but it could be MU 40. I mean, you could have 40 acres in that MU 20 zone, right? So you could just make it all one parcel. So if
But
you
it's
tore
not one
down
parcel.
the homes, right?
It's not a parcel right now. I'm
Right.
seeing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
Yeah,
6.
we
No, but
understand we have
I'm
to
saying if you were
combine
to later
parcels.
combine them, but that's something that, we can either make a condition that I would say.
Technically, if they tore every home down, they could just make that all one parcel and make it MU 120.
But we have no control of that after we, to give it a zone change and say, hey, you get to.
If you make it conditional,
Yeah.
then you can. See, when I started looking at this, I'm like, this doesn't make any sense to me. It's not even close to qualifying. I mean, that's just been a Wild West piece down there anyway. But then I look at it, it used to be MU 120. Everything else went up to MU 120. And if you can make it qualify, I don't know that I have a heartburn on that, because it does fit in with everything else.
We're just
So-
asking you to make that a condition that we have to make it, we have to follow your ordinances. We understand that. We're not trying to not follow the ordinance. We understand there are rules in there that we have to follow. We want to do that. We just need it conditioned upon those rules.
So most of the people that live around there have been there forever and ever. So they were there when it was MU 120. So I don't know how anybody can complain about that when that's what it used to be. And I do think it fits all the other criteria. So I'm
Well, Yeah, there's one lot in there that fits all of the criteria. Everything else would have to be.
They could make it all. They could make it.
Could.
Yeah.
So then we would say, do we, modify and approve one lot? And then they come back in once they've done everything they need to do to come back and ask for the other portion? Or, that to me seems like you have a little more control on what goes down there as opposed to, I mean, you make it condition, I guess it would be the same.
It's all the same control. If we made a motion that based upon making it fit the criteria of what M120 is, however you do that, if you take, big squigglies, if you want to, I don't know that.
MU20.
That it's, and I don't know that I'm kind of surprised that I'm saying that, but I don't see what the problem is.
Well, if you can only have one house per acre,
No, per MU 20 per 20 acres.
per 20 acres.
And there are currently more homes down there that would be allowed in that. However, they could make it meet by tearing these homes down and saying, we don't have a home there anymore, right? So, I mean, there is a way for them to meet that.
Well, the existing homes are grandfathered. They don't have to change anything.
Yeah, because
no.
it's now R120, and so if you
Yeah.
go back to.
So that's what everyone's concern
They
is.
left it at M20. Well, we should have a conversation.
Well, does it, doing that, does it fit the character of the neighborhood with all those houses
So
around there?
we would need to go through that criteria as well.
I mean, everything else is MU20.
The other thing to
All around
consider
there.
on their,
Yeah, but not, this is all currently where all the homes are is in R120. That's what this currently is right now, is R120.
Right.
And where all the homes are, and then they want to go back to MU20, which in
But they own
that
the
zoning, it could be lots of different things. It could be, man, it
Well-
could be a whole bunch of stuff that could impact everybody there besides just.
So, and that's a good point. That
I
we'd
mean,
have to look
aggregate.
at, we have to look at condition or permitted uses and then also conditional
Yeah.
uses. So,
Right.
and it could be any of those things that come in there. So, you have to look at the community and the neighborhood and what it's all about, and then look at all of these and say, any one of these could be there. I think we should go through the
Yes.
9 criteria, so we'll just do that really quick. 10.8.3 amendments to zone district map addresses a recognized and demonstrated need in the community.
It sounds like the community down there doesn't want it. So is it a need?
Yeah, we can't listen.
Well, it's not really public clamor. They're not loud.
They're-
and
they're
No,
They're the
no,
neighbors.
but if it fits,
Hey, I do, please keep it down.
public clamor doesn't mean that you're yelling and shouting and all that. What that means is if the public is saying, hey, we just don't want this because we don't want this, we can't follow that. We have to follow the codes.
Yeah, and that's,
public clamor.
You don't want to live down there.
hey, please keep your comments. I need to keep this in order.
But in that same voice, you go through the one requirement, is it in harmony? Does it fit the character of the community there already? That those two are kind
Well,
of tangled.
we have a, and I'm not,
We have an event center.
I'm not an advocate of Jake's. I'm really not, but I'm just really looking at this of, we have a wedding event center already down there. We have there's at least 6 other businesses down there already.
Airbnbs.
They are illegal. There's no question about that, but they're still there. And nobody has ever filed a complaint with the city, have they? Not yet. So everybody that lives around there has already accepted that that's a business area.
No, they don't.
No.
We've complained.
but we're not even asking for it to be a business area.
Hey, I really do need to keep comments down. Thank you.
This zone change isn't about being a
So we
business
just go
area.
through
This
those
zone
things
changes
and
for.
just-
Yeah,
agricultural.
we're gonna do that. We're
Can
gonna
we
do
post
that.
them on the screen?
We can, yeah, we could do that. Will you pull up that? It's 10.8.3.
Thank you.
So demonstrated a recognized need in the community. Yeah, I think that comment that it's already got more homes on it and those kind of things than it, as a MU20, you're gonna have to tear those homes down to make it an MU20 again. So I'm not sure that I can see that it's a need for the community. That's my take.
You might as well just vote no, because if you're going on those 9 criteria, you can go every way you want on those. So I don't really care. Just vote us no.
It's part of
I
our
don't care.
review, so we will go through it. Okay. Any other comments on number 1?
You know what we gotta do. We're gonna read them.
Read them. Just vote no. I don't care. Vote no.
I think this is a discussion for us.
Yeah, it is.
Not the public right now.
Okay, any other comments on the number 1? Okay, number 2, will be compatible with character of the neighborhood and surrounding structures and use, scale, mass, and circulation.
Not when you go to MU20,
Well, with all the homes in there, that's.
but they're sitting on they're sitting on R20,
R120 now.
R120.
But but MU20 with the uses that can be used, it's already basically being used for that.
Illegally.
Illegally,
And-
yes, but the
and-
city has allowed it.
And it has too many homes to meet the MU20 as well, so.
Right.
Okay, any other comment over here? I apologize if I don't address you guys. You have to say something, yell at me.
So the people who have homes down there, it's not on this property that we're talking about, right? You own your own property.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So if there's homes on there, are they being lived in?
I don't even know that it matters so much as it has a home, it could be, right? So that's kind of, yeah, so they're using them as business and things like that. Okay, I will move to number 3, will not result in an over-intensive use of the land, excessive depletion of natural resources. Will not result, okay.
Well, we don't know if it will. They're
Well,
gonna go MU20.
So
It
what we can
designates-
put in MU20.
Yeah, there you go.
Let
What
me
can you
look
put
at
in
the,
MU20?
RV park?
I'll read the,
so?
No,
hey,
I don't think
I'm
so.
going to say this one more time. I want the audience to keep quiet, okay? No more outbursts. I won't tolerate it. Okay, so we'll go to permitted uses in MU20. Accessory buildings and uses customarily incidental to agricultural and grazing uses. Agriculture uses, home occupations with current home occupation permit, livestock grazing, single-family dwellings, public or quasi-public uses for essential public services, or public utility uses. Those are the permitted uses. Conditional uses, agricultural, industrial, or industry and related business uses, commercial kennels, extraction industry uses as outlined in Chapter 15, extraction industry overlay zone. Private park or recreational grounds or facilities, or private camp or resort, including accessories, supporting buildings or dwelling complexes, which are owned or managed by a recreation facility and under unified control. Radio, television, microwave, or cell phone transmitting and relay stations and towers. Residential facility for persons with disability. The use shall require permit. Single-family and multifamily dwellings located above commercial space, and accessory buildings and uses customarily incidental to the above.
I think that also clarifies that it can be more than one single-family home. I don't think it says you can only have one in there. Would you really verify that? Because I read it that you can have multiple in 20 acres.
Let me go to the.
It says single-family homes.
Yeah, but that doesn't necessarily need multiple. Staff, have you got a comment on that?
It said just says single family dwellings, but dwellings is plural.
Right, but it doesn't, yeah,
That says under permitted uses. When it talks about dwellings, it says single family dwellings. When it talks about
Right.
Conditional uses, it says, talks about a single family, multifamily dwellings located above commercial space. Yeah.
It's a zoning as a whole.
That's just the zoning, yeah. As a whole, it says.
Overall,
yeah, so I don't,
I'm not,
Darren, have you got something, a take on that?
I think Afton's is correct. It's
Something,
zoning as a whole is the way that I was kind of looking at that, both Riker and I.
okay, so is that a question for legal then? I think,
We could say dwelling, but
right, I mean,
that's
depends on what the
very,
intent
very,
of that was.
I think if you look at the intent, it's the overall zoning, not the zonings.
Yeah, yeah.
And what
was
was the one about resort?
Conditional use, it says, private park or recreational grounds or facilities or private camp or resort, including accessory or supporting buildings or dwellings, complexes which are owned and managed by a recreational facility. So it could be multiple, not residential dwellings, but buildings and support buildings and that kind of thing could be in that area, it sounds like.
But not an RV resort, because it would have to be in an RV resort
Yeah, it
zone.
doesn't specify RV. Yeah, I don't know where we to go with that so much, but.
'Cause I think that's what everyone's concern is, that it's going to be made into an
Well,
RV
we can't,
resort.
we can't look at that. What we can look at is what we see here, what can be
Right.
permitted. If they were to come in with an RV, a resort, request, then we'd have to look at it then as well, so.
Yeah.
Okay, so now that we know what, permitted and conditional uses are, so I can get back to where I was supposed to be. 10.8.3.
Are you on 4?
Yeah, would you read that for me, please?
Me?
Yes.
Number 4, will not have a material adverse effect on community capital improvement programs.
I don't know that MU-20, I mean, it used to be MU-20. I don't know that. I mean, the city's not gonna be building any roads in there. I mean, we've already put a water line through there. They had to put through there anyway,
Right?
so.
I don't know that it would change that at all. I don't really, as far as, on community capital improvements. Okay, number 5, will not require a level of community facilities and services greater than that which is available. Not knowing what's coming in there, we can never answer that one. Will not result, other than we can say that those were the permitted and conditional uses, so we can kind of base it on those things, I guess. Will not result in an undue traffic congestion and traffic hazards. Any comments on any of that?
MU-20 would not.
Right.
Okay.
Again, there's already so much traffic going down there from what's
The
already there.
wedding venue and all that. Okay, number 7, will not cause significant air, odor, water, light, or noise pollution.
Depends on what you do down there.
It does, so it has a potential to do that.
If you put
what
an
you-
extraction pit in there, then
Yeah, we don't allow extraction.
No, it does.
It does
That is
allow
a
that.
permitted use, or a
It's a-
conditional use.
it's a conditional use in there. And that would greatly affect everybody.
Yeah, yeah.
Flood zone.
Will not,
Doesn't matter.
hey, I know more of that. I don't want to hear it anymore.
Not re-
Okay, will not otherwise be detrimental to the health, safety, or welfare of the present or future inhabitants of the city.
You know, I keep going back to it. I mean, there's just already so much going there. I don't know what's going to change, and we don't know what's going to change. I don't even answer that besides.
Yeah, they're pretty difficult questions.
Can't
sometimes, for
predict.
sure.
Yeah.
Okay, number 9, will meet the requirements of the general plan.
John, if I may, with the required conditions, approve the zone change with number 9. It says, it's whether the proposed amendment is consistent with the goals, objectives, and policies of the city's general plan. What is our general plan for MU20? I missed that one.
Well, I think it's the current, the zoning map, the general plan zone map. And I know that we don't use that for this, but where was the city?
At the beginning of your code there, at the very top, it talks about what the purpose of this zone is.
I think,
the general plan does talk about open spaces. It talks about these type of things.
Wayne, was your question to do with where did the general plan say that we should have this type of use?
Well, this is a
or it-
required consideration to approve this zone change.
Right.
So in our general plan, it is talking about, we don't know the use. It's talking about open spaces, more rural, if you want to say,
Yeah.
or it could be extraction, gravel pits. It could be many things.
Yeah. Okay. So those are the 9 criteria. It's hard to answer, just as it always is, hard to answer all of those for
I
sure.
think what I'm reading is kind of going along with this, but it's in my packet as zone change application. The extent in which the proposed amendment may adversely affect adjacent property. And the adequacy of facilities, we already went through that one. So this is a little bit slightly different than this, but.
Are you?
I mean,
Which one are you
change
reading there?
application that I received in my packet.
The same packet. That's the same thing you have in your guys' packet as well.
Kind of different wording.
Yeah.
That's on the application
That's the
itself. Yeah.
That's the application. You guys have that in your packet on
right.
the Teams meeting.
Yeah.
Our Teams folder.
Okay. So currently, we're looking at, we have one lot or parcel that meets the MU20 zone. Everything else would have to be brought to conformity with that zone change. So we could look at it and say 28 acres, the one that meets it, and look at that as far as it by itself, it's surrounded by MU20 or it's got it around it. Does it meet all the criteria that we just read by itself? And that would be a modification of the application. So it would be a modification of the, of an approval, right? Just a thought.
Correct.
Somebody be right.
I came into this meeting looking through all of this, and I kind of had an idea of where my head was. The more I look at it, I'm not opposed to this with certain conditions. There's so much going on down there already. And we don't know what they would change it to. We hear, there's rumors. We don't know. And I think it fits criteria.
Is MU zoning going to be worse than what it is now?
Well, they could subdivide it and put, how many homes down there.
Right,
And everybody's going to complain about that.
right.
The thing I've learned owning property People like having their space and let's just leave it alone. That's not our job. I don't think.
I agree with that. I do, but our job is, and yeah, I'm not trying to tell you
No.
this, but it's to say what fits our code and what doesn't.
Right.
And so that's.
And that is our job.
That's where we're at.
Right.
Well, there's going to be a highway going through.
Yeah, and that's,
Right.
that's,
There
and
is going
that's
to
already
be-
highway commercial right there.
And there's going to be increased. I don't know whether whether there will be additional traffic to the south or not, but there's certainly going to be much better access to the Shangri-La Valley
Right.
than there ever has been.
Which may prompt residential if it's left. You know, we just don't know. I,
Well, I mean, we definitely can approve the 28 acre piece, but I would say,
Well, we can do it conditionally so that all of the lots are made 20 acres.
I do have one question for Jake. On that 28 acres, are there homes on that property?
I do not believe that there are. There might be. Daisy, can you pull up that cool new zone map that Dan showed us?
I pulled it up on Google
Okay,
Maps.
I don't
but just
believe
wanted
that
to
there
make
are.
sure that
There
I was
might be the
seeing
pond house on there, the event center might be, but I don't think so.
It's on that corner, so I know we're good there. I just want to make sure that we weren't overlooking the multiple homes and that kind of thing if we were to approve that.
That's just a big old hillside.
And you can see all the MU around it. So the 28 acres, can you scroll down just a little bit and show that 28 acres? I mean up, I'm sorry. So I believe the 28 acres is that upper parcel there that's
correct.
That's adjacent to the highway commercial and also the MU 20 to the west. So to me, I can see where that one fits the
Kind of seems to be the natural
neighborhood.
flow.
It and it's next to it. It doesn't have a home on it. I could see going for an approval on that one. The other ones, they don't meet the criteria now. I would have no problem saying, meet the criteria and come back.
And the only criteria, so you're saying there's two criteria, the 20 acres and
The
and
acres.
potentially one home per 20, but I don't think
And
that's accurate.
And
actually.
that's something we could verify with legal and all that, but it currently doesn't meet it because of the size of lots.
And you're really that opposed to a conditional use approval on that?
I'm
You
not
guys can
opposed.
give it
I'm
continual
gonna
uses all
let
the time.
them speak and I will make my vote.
I mean, 90% of the stuff you guys do has a condition to it, right? Like I've been to lots of these and almost every approval has a condition. We're just asking for a
Yeah,
condition.
that's
That's all we're asking. We're fine in meeting the conditions.
okay. I don't have any more questions. Thank you.
I'm ready to make a motion if you guys are ready.
I'm ready for a motion.
I make a motion that we approve the MU 20 on the whole thing with the condition that they would have to meet the criteria for MU 20. Whatever the attorney says that's what it is, that's what it is. 20 acres, and if it's one house, it's one house. If it's not, then I apologize, and it's not. But that would be my motion.
Yep.
John, I'm still hung up on a couple of those criteria.
Motion's been made.
Doesn't matter.
You
I
would
watched the
call
city
for a
council
second.
do this
You
all
would
the
call for a
time.
second and
Yeah.
then discussion, and then you
discussion.
amend the motion.
We end discussion?
No, I gotta ask for a second. I have a motion. Do I have a second
You
on
can
that
ask for a
motion?
second and then discuss the motion and then amend it.
If there's not a second, then it just dies.
Then we make another one.
I would second the motion that it be approved with the conditions that the MU 120 be met as whatever the MU 20 requirements come down to with the attorney, that it be clarified.
And I guess I should clarify my motion that we recommend approval not.
Yeah, you're not.
Right, we're not-
Yes, we're just
making a
recommending.
recommendation to city
Yes.
council. Nothing's being approved.
Right. So that discussion.
Did we hit, did that sound like a good enough motion as far as what we need to
Recommend
make sure the things are done for MU 20?
Of everything with
Make-
the condition that they
Yeah.
meet
Stacy's motion,
Okay.
he's
the
a second.
criteria
So-
for MU
alright.
20 on all of it.
Thank you for that.
He's,
Okay, I've got a motion and a second. Is there any need for further discussion?
Yes.
Okay,
I just don't believe it meets a couple of requirements. I believe but then on the other hand, help me out, because we can't foresee the future. So I'm following exactly what the code tells me to do, and I believe it'll cause harm, dust, noise, air, with speculating what could go on down there. But I'm only speculating. So in my mind, the code is telling me if one of those or two of those, which it always says that, then I can't go with it. So I'm not quite worked through that,
So
because
if they were gonna do a gravel extraction there, they're gonna have to come and get a permit for that. And if it doesn't fit that,
it fits it.
then well, if it doesn't, if
it is a conditional.
it is a
use.
condition, we can deny that condition.
So if it does harm and we.
If it
feel
does
it's gonna do
harm, then we
for
can deny that.
Whatever Jake builds down there, then
Yeah.
we can not allow that.
Correct.
Are you comfortable with that?
I'm okay with that.
I'm sorry?
There's certain stop things there that go on and to prevent certain things. So.
There we go. A new motion or,
Well, we have to vote on that. We have a motion and a
oh,
second.
that's right. So,
You can
the-
either amend the motion.
yeah, that's,
You can amend the motion.
that's what
now,
I
or
was
you
trying to
can
get,
vote
wasn't it?
if no one wants to amend the
Want to amend the motion?
Anybody want to amend the
I don't know what I'd
motion?
amend it to.
Yeah,
I mean,
I think there's enough safety mechanisms there that I don't think there's going to be a gravel. I don't know.
Well,
We don't know, but but again, they're going to have to come here and get a conditional use permit to build a gravel quarry.
yeah.
Or anything else.
And you got hillside ordinances, you got
And by
you got
code,
wetlands, you
not-
got all kinds of things. I don't think that would ever even pass.
I'm not looking at it, I'm looking at like the code, so.
Right.
So that, I gotta forego that thinking and it meets. Well, one property right begins, the other one ends.
That is true.
So it's a touchy one.
Okay, got a motion and a second. Any need to further discuss that motion? Take a vote.
Did it come with conditions?
Yep.
Oops, I guess.
Is that it all? That the motion was
Everything
that-
conforms.
conforms with
Let's clarify those conditions then again. Just say that.
So
Let's make a motion again and
So the
clear it
motion
up.
is that all of the property that is changed to NU 20 will comply with all the ordinances, codes that we have. That's pretty much as clear as it can be. Is that, what would you think?
Yeah.
Is that a good motion?
So I think.
Afton?
Recommend approval.
I would, if that
Any other
is,
suggestions?
if that is the motion, I would say that that needs to be surveyed
Yeah.
Well, yes.
by a licensed land surveyor to make sure that those are combined correctly as per the county recorder's requirements and to make them into those sizes. So there needs, that would be one of the
Yeah, and I
conditions would
agree
be
with
that. Because there is a process to combine lots or
Yeah.
parcels like that.
They would have to follow that.
Yes.
What our current ordinances are.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, that's why I say, subject to all of the ordinances that are in place.
Yep, I like that.
Okay,
Does that make sense?
Makes sense.
motion and second. I will take a vote.
Aye.
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 Okay. Business item 5. Discussion on ordinance or home occupancy permit. This is the what Riker has put in our packets. I'll wait till they leave and then we'll.
Yeah.
You don't go away. Okay. I got more to say. Not gonna work.
A quick break. You could take a quick break. A break.
I'm shocked that I.
Do it all.
I came in here actually.
Yeah, if we could move out as quickly as possible. Hey, excuse me, would you guys please? Thank you. No.
That does not preserve any.
Thank you, guys.
That was the hardest thing I've had to deal with.
Yeah, right there.
Okay, let's get back to the business item here. Business item,
We're missing parties of Afton.
yeah, we don't
They don't
we need staff and I think
We're here. Could you
So-
close that door, Daisy? It's hard to hear.
Yeah, please.
This one's just the word license is all it is. I'm sorry.
Should we make a motion to take a break, 5-minute break?
Yeah,
Because don't we need staff?
we don't,
No.
this is good. If you guys need a break.
No,
If you want.
Need a break?
No, let's go. Let's
Okay,
get
let's
it
keep
done.
going then.
Here you go.
Oh, sorry about that.
Sorry.
Okay, that takes us to business item number,
6.
where are we at? No, let's see, we need to take, yeah, you're right. Thank you for that. Okay, so business item 6. Discussion on ordinance, no, this is number 5.
Oh,
This is number 5. So 5 is going to be what used to be 9 and now 9. So we're back to number old 5, new 9. Discussion on, am I right about that?
no.
Am I out of?
Yeah, because you moved that to 9.
Yeah, so I took 9 and I made it 5 and 5 is now 9. So it is number 6.
Yeah, it's 6.
Okay, that wasn't quite what I was expecting, but okay. Okay, discussion on ordinance, general plan applicability. Again, we've got that in our packets. I think you all had an opportunity to look at that. Wow.
Yeah, right here.
Did you want
Sorry, I was, on the way out, sorry, on the way out, a resident asked a question just about the last agenda item, so I was just looking on.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, on this, you're talking on the home occupancy permit.
No.
Is it-
No, so,
Oh, you moved that tonight, I'm sorry.
right, and
then,
so I
yeah,
kind
You want me to take that, or do you want to take it?
I can talk about it. So this ordinance that we're looking at for the general plan applicability ordinance is to amend that and restate the consistency policy as the general plan utilization policy. This is in order to more clearly align with Utah State Code 10-9A-405, which reads, except as provided in section 10-9A-406, which references public facilities. The general plan is an advisory guide for land use decisions, the impact of which shall be determined by ordinance. And this is before you for discussion and possible recommendation to the city council.
I guess my only concern or question was in this number 2 repealer. All ordinances, resolutions, and policies of the city or parts thereof inconsistent herewith are hereby repealed, but only to the extent of such inconsistency and only for the period of time this ordinance remains effective. So, which ones?
So the repealer clause is in all of our ordinance.
Okay.
That's just saying if there's a discrepancy between this one and another, it's just talking, just saying that
So-
it's not meant. If there's any inconsistency between this and another, that it says it's only for the time that this ordinance is there. If there's something else that's passed in the future, it doesn't apply. This, if a new ordinance is passed outside of this, so basically what this is asking is in the
In the general plan right now, in this ordinance right now, it says that everything has to comply with the general plan. We had talked about taking that out and making it a standalone document. Then it went through legal review. The attorney said, actually, let's leave it in here, but update this language. So the repealer clause, that's in the severability, that's in all of our ordinances. That's standard language in all of our ordinances.
So, yeah, and I thought Heath was going to be here tonight, so I wanted
Yeah.
to ask a specific question on that. But
So what this is changing, is it from saying that,
Can you go to the red line portion?
No red lines.
No deadline.
well,
Well,
it's just saying that we don't have to abide by it. It's not
It's an advisory.
it's an advisory document, not a,
Days on the draft, just go down to the section, keep going past the whereases. And it should be down, keep going down, right there.
so this 1072, so this is, I don't know why that's not in red right there, but it's literally that paragraph versus the paragraph.
It was in, can you pull up the other one?
It's in the general
Um,
plan affordability ordinance.
Just pull that up.
I have it somewhere. I saw it in my.
So I have a question while we're looking for that.
Yeah.
So Riker, are you saying that Utah code this is what we have to do?
No.
So
Or is this just recommended?
Utah State Code states that the general plan is an advisory guide and that the impact of that is to be determined by ordinance.
I'm not sure if that's correct. I think I've read two different ways. You can have it be an advisory and that be what it is, or you can say you will adhere to the general code.
So that's after our conversation the other day about that, I went and researched it. And the only two sections that reference that are that which I cited that talks about it being an advisory guide, the impact of which will be determined by ordinance, and the reference to public facilities with the general plan.
So is that saying that the state recommends it to be an advisory, but cities can make it more restrictive?
Correct.
They choose to?
Correct.
So currently.
That's
One of the questions
determined
I
by
have
ordinance.
about that is, our current ordinance have must use, will use, shall. I mean, those are pretty concrete words. The repealer in this
Yep.
takes that out.
Correct.
Those are gone, right? So, yeah, that's definitely something we have to think about, is how that. affects
however, when we're making decisions, we're always taking into account what the general plan states.
Except for right now, it's an advisory, where like over the past few months, we've come and said it doesn't fit the general plan, it's been a reason for denial. So this is a way that we will no longer be able to use the general plan as a reason for denial at all.
It's just, as it states in this general plan utilization policy, it's just so that the general plan is not used in and of itself solely as the reason for denial. It is to be used as an advisory guide, so in addition to other conditions that are outlined in our code.
Listen, let's cut right to the fact here. This is taking away the must comply with general plan on land issue uses. You're trying to do away with that, is what you're trying to do, because you're
Correct.
taking that out.
Correct.
So
We're
you're
trying to put it
taking-
in the role of an advisory rather than actual.
Guide or,
The
Code.
general plan, don't interrupt me, please. The general plan is pretty much put together by the public. The city council does not write the general plan. So that's all taken in effect. So the consistency plan was a really good thing. Whoever put in there was pretty smart, because it doesn't allow the city council just to make a zone change, because city councils sometimes are different. Every 2 to 4 years, they change, opinions change. Somebody might be really proactive in economic growth. Somebody might be really proactive in parks. And that gives them a way to get around what the general plan, which represents the citizens, which is their constituents. So if you take that out, then there's no governing of the general plan at all. It's merely just guidelines. I believe that's put in there as a stopgap. So the city council has to think, well, maybe we should review this one more time and have a public hearing and then make our decision, rather than have sole power to make decision
over all land use items, because that's the biggest item that faces Tocqueville is land use items. And to take it away, which this is doing from the public, I really have a hard time with that. I mean, all we do is we go by the code. City council can make any decision they want. But I think a stopgap in there is really a good thing, because then you can't have anybody that's, well, I won't even go that far. The city council has to be responsible for some of the public's input. I mean, if I was public out there and I would be really discerned if the city council just washed over everything and didn't even listen to or even adhere to any part of the general plan. You know, ever since I've joined in here, this general plan, all I hear is it's just merely guidelines.
It feels like it was put there intentionally. It seems specific.
No, the consistency plan is there for that reason, is to protect
That's what I'm saying.
the citizens.
I think those were intentionally put in as a stronger verbiage than the general advisory that the state recommends, because our city, at the time these codes were written, wanted that protection. And I'm concerned with why and who is wanting to remove the restrictions for what they want to have done.
Let me go a little further down the line here, and I'm going to do some examples. Virgin had a shift in, I mean, they kept the tight town, tight within what they could afford and what water they had and what they did. And then they had a mayor change and a council change. And they went boom. Everybody knows what Virgin looks like now. The town absolutely hates it. The new commission or the new people are in there are trying to get it back. So if you had a council that went that way, you take Rockville, they stick to their guns. You take Leeds, they stick with it. But I mean, economic growth is great, but it needs to be somewhat in the citizens' hands also. It's not solely the decision of the council. That's why that general applicability plan or consistency plan, I think, was in there.
Wayne,
because it's just another stopgap.
Yeah, and I don't mean to cut you off. I would actually like to hear from the public. So let's open up the public hearing. And then
We have a
can go
public
back-
hearing on that one?
Yeah, and then we can go back into discussion.
Yeah, I'm long-winded, I understand.
No, you're fine. I don't like to cut you off by any means. I apologize for that. Okay, so we'll open up a public hearing. Public input is sought on ordinance, whatever this is, 2023 XX. It is amending Title 10, Chapter 7, Section 2, updating the consistency policy to be a standalone document. So if we have any comments, I now open up the public hearing.
Hi, Chris Butterworth, Tocqueville Heights. And I agree with what Wayne was saying. I think it's supposed to be a stopgap. To take that out, I don't think would be helpful. I think that would leave too much open range to do whatever you wanted and not listen to the public.
Thank you.
My name is Ray Bentz at 370 West Shangri-La. I agree with Wayne on this. There has to be a check and balance here. We're limited as citizens on what we can do. In your last meeting, you disapproved a zone change, and it was overturned by the city council. And that caused a lot of consternation for the people in that neighborhood for highway commercial when you guys unanimously voted that down. And so that makes us feel powerless, makes us feel like subjects instead of citizens. And that's not what we want. I mean, that's what we have in this country, but that's not what we want here. And so I agree with Wayne on this. And I think that we need to use the general plan. That is our protection. And you're right. People every so many years come in. We see that in our regular government. They come and they go. And if they want something, they get it. But the public, they stay. They don't come and go. And so we're in a community where you can't count on consistency. So in another so many years, everything may change. You may have the carpet pulled out from under your feet. So Wayne, I appreciate that you see that. And that is our only protection. And thus far, it hasn't really worked for us too well. And we hope that in the future that it will. So thank you.
Thank you.
McKelly Peart, Tokerville, right next door to you, 234 North. I just have a question on that. So it seems like if you lay out a general plan that's very, very firm, you could never change it. It prevents people that live, on their land that want to make changes. We don't know what the future is going to hold in 5 years. And I don't know how often the general plan is updated. You guys know?
5 years is like
5 to 10 years. So
Some people don't do it for 20.
okay, so yeah, I guess, if the general plan isn't what, if things change and somebody wants to rezone their property, there's a process for that, right? You can rezone it to something that's different than the general plan. And it seems like that's, we have a process for that reason. So I just would be concerned that saying, hey, this general plan is exactly what it has to be, limits people from making changes, limits people from, doing what they want with their property. So,
Thank you.
Maybe I'm understanding these two different things incorrectly. I'm Jenny Chamberlain. I live at 61 West Old Church Road. And I'm an alternate on the Planning Commission. But it seems to me like the consistency one is more restrictive to you guys. And this one allows you a little bit more the opportunity to use your judgment. And you, as representatives of us, I think I would rather have the judgment in the Planning Commission's hands than your hands tied by something that says you must follow the general plan. So maybe I'm not understanding it correctly, but I think this one allows you guys a little bit more flexibility to listen to public clamor, to follow the code. I mean, you're always going to look at the code and follow it. To me, this one seems to give you more flexibility. And if I had to choose between something that's going to lay down a strong line and require something and something that allows listening, you guys deciding, I would pick this one.
I actually have to leave. Andrea Allred, 1138 South Choya. So just my 2 cents that I've been thinking on this for a while about, but I understand that our general plan should be an advisory tool. It's something that should be guiding the future of Tokerville for the next 20 years. It's supposed to be something that helps us determine what we put in the different zones and how we should be doing things. However, in seeing what I have over the past year, this feels like a tool to remove the power from Planning Commission, because right now, when we've been met with things that our constituents don't want to have, and as a citizen don't want to see, that has been a stopgap that we've been able to leverage. And I feel like this is a developer's way to remove the only thing that we've been able to use as a reason to not let the developers run our city instead of the citizens. So if I was voting, would vote against it, but I have to leave. So thank you.
Thanks.
I'm Jake Peart. I do own property in Tokerville. I live at 232 West Ridgeview Drive in Hurricane. I'm still confused on whose property rights we're looking after, the person that owns the property or the people that surround the person that owns the property. And I think we ought to lean towards the person that owns the property, having the property rights.
It's got to be both.
It's a different question.
Sarah Peart, 234 North Toker Boulevard. In the definition of a general plan, it says that it is a guide and not a regulatory document.
Okay. Any other comments?
I don't need my timer this time. I'm Charlotte Potter, and I live down in Shangri-La Valley. I just want to tell you, thank you for listening, and thank you for wanting to reason things out, because I feel like you're listening to what we're talking about and our concerns, and I appreciate that. And you're being very careful in your decisions and what you're looking at. And I'm not sure what your official title is, Mr. Olson, but I'm speaking to you. I just appreciate you and thinking through things. So thank you.
Thank you.
Sean, I need to tear this up.
We'll finish this up and then I'll let you speak. Any other public comments? Okay, I'll take a motion to close the public hearing.
I make a motion, we close the public hearing on Business item number 6, discussion on ordinance number 2023 XX, general plan applicability.
Got a motion and a second. Any need to further discuss? No, we don't need to do that. Okay, I'll take a vote.
Aye.
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 Okay, Wayne.
So, let me make it clear. There's some misunderstanding here. The stopgap I'm speaking of and the general plan, we're not making the general plan a strict document here. All we're asking is that the council take a second look at it before they make the decision for the landowners and the people. Not, this applicability plan isn't making the general plan rock solid in no way. It's just another avenue to look at the heated issues twice. If you got me wrong on that, okay. Because we're not taking anything away from the council. They have the sole power, but they have the opportunity to look at it again before it's all just
When it comes to land use thing, they can do.
land
whatever they
use.
want.
Yes, just land use. No, they can't land use. They must.
Well,
They
so
must-
that, and
they
that's,
must
so that's
follow
the part that when we talk about the repealer, and the repealer says it gets rid of all of the, in my mind, all of the codes that say must or shall or will. And I don't know if they say will, but, so to me, that says a zone change, and you can just say, here's a document. In the way it's written now, it says it shall or must or something along those lines. It's pretty concrete at the general plan. The general plan can be amended.
Yes.
Through a process of the city council can amend it for a change. If they have a need for whatever in a certain area, they can amend that to work that way. So it's not a concrete thing.
No.
But it definitely is something that gives you pause and say, hey, it says right here, the people have spoken. This is what they said they wanted. It gives you a stopgap.
Yep. That needs to happen. It's in our ordinance.
Hold on.
You can amend the general plan, but we don't amend the general plan before we make these decisions. So
Right.
I just think it's a good.
Yeah,
that we
and
follow
I do as well.
It doesn't take anybody's rights or anything away. It's just they got a second look before they vote.
I think if it's a need where we see it says, and the code says it must.
Yep.
That's a pretty concrete thing for planning commission to say, hey, that's part of the code. Now it goes to council with whatever approval or a recommendation. And if they have that need, they can override that. So I don't,
Daisy, I think it's important for you to pull up the actual current code. Let's talk about the current code just while we're having discussion.
Okay.
The way that the code currently reads right here, just stop right here, just Daisy, this is what we're talking about. We've got, the consistency policy is not trying, as far as taking away, giving back, doing this. The whole point of revamping the consistency policy is to get the consistency policy consistent. Whatever way you want to recommend is fine. If you want to keep it the way it is, we have a general plan that in the beginning of the general plan, it says that it's a guiding document. It is not restrictive. Then we have a consistency policy for the general plan where it says the purpose of the general plan is a general plan for the community, a general guide for making land use decisions, right? That's what it says. That's the first line of the code. Then when you go to the consistency policy, then it says it's not going to be a guiding document. It says it must comply. Our consistency policy doesn't match our consistency ordinance, which doesn't match
It's not
our general
consistent?
plan. That's for the purpose. It
That's
doesn't match the purpose, doesn't match the policy, doesn't match our actual general plan.
right. And
So
and
the
we've
whole
seen
point of
that, we've
this,
come into that
This
before.
whole thing was not done to take power from somebody, give power to somebody. We've got to come up with a consistency policy. When you're discussing this, you have a better consistency policy than what's in here and what was presented. We're all ears. This is just the first crack at it. If you've got feedback, you want to change it, you've got some red lines you want to make, let's do it. If you don't have a better idea, you know what I mean? You've got to make the decision, but what we're saying is right here, if you read this ordinance, we're being presented as staff with land use
applications all day, every day. And when we look at this, so the city's general plan is a general plan. This will be a general guide for making land use decisions, right? Then when it goes down, then it starts saying, okay, well, it's gonna be, in the consistency policy, it says it will be followed. So which is it? We've got to change this ordinance regardless. Either we've got to change the purpose of the general plan to say this will not be a guiding document, this will actually be the law of the city as an ordinance, or we've got to change the consistency policy to say that somehow, some way, we've got to make the purpose and the policy match what's in the actual description in the general plan. It says it's not restricted in our actual adopted general plan. So we got to figure it out. We're amending the general plan
But
right
then-
now. Do you want us to amend the general
yeah.
plan to say it's gonna follow the ordinance? Do you want the ordinance to amend to go with the general? That's why we're having a discussion.
Yeah, and thinking about all of what you just said, and I've thought about that several times, and I look at the ordinances as they're written, and
Sure.
and I look at those and I think, somebody wrote these to say this must happen. So to me, the intent of that was that. So that is actually the code. So the general plan being a guideline, to me, should follow the code, not the other way around, right? So I don't know. That's it. So the repealer part of that, and that's where I'm like, it gets rid of everything in our code that says that it must or shall or any of that. So I guess part of the decision would be is, do we want to say that, hey, we've got to adhere to the general plan, or do we use it as a guideline only and take out that language in the codes?
Yeah, I mean,
Or you could do nothing. You can.
Or do nothing.
Yeah. Or you could do nothing.
But there is
Exactly what
there
you
is
agree, but there is
inconsistency in our consistency. So
yeah, if we leave it like it is, we've been in violation for 5 years.
Right. That's why we're here.
So, yeah.
right. So
But all the ordinances say you shall, you must, all of that.
so does it?
That's a big step to pull all of that without looking at every ordinance.
So that's
I would think change the purpose, not the consistency policy. Personally.
I think it's a good idea to have a decision has to conform with the general plan on such bigger issues like this. And then that can be brought back and ultimately they'll make the decision.
Well, and I guess when you're talking about the council has to, the council must, the council shall, and all of
no,
these.
we don't.
The council can literally vote. I mean, they can
Mm-hmm.
vote. They consider lots of things besides, and we said this a bunch, if you think of a land use or whatever's coming before city council, not even land use, but if you think of it like a big piece of the pie, right? Planning commission is one slice of that pie. Council is taking into account other things, sales tax, property tax, right? Health, safety, welfare. They're taking into a lot of things other than what planning commission is looking at. But planning commission, especially land use, is such a huge deal that they have a whole body, obviously, every city's got one, you know what I mean? They have a whole body where they're asking for your recommendation. So it's super important, whatever you are recommending is super important. It's also important to remember that you are one piece of a pie, right? There's legal going into that, all sorts of things that they're looking at outside of just what planning commission is looking at. So again, on here, you guys have to talk about what you want to do as far as consistency. I mean.
So going along that line, that's why I think we changed the purpose instead, because we're not privy to all of the things that the city council and the mayor knows. And so if we focus on what the general plan is, what the ordinances are, otherwise we could just make some recommendation, well, we feel good about this one and not that one. And city council still can do whatever they want. And so I think this guides us better by just being consistent with following the general plan.
Well, and what happens when our good council leaves now and it has a whole council change and another council comes in and just wipes out everything they've done because they don't like it?
Well, they still can.
They still
City council can.
But
And
that's
even if you
why,
leave the
that's why the
consistency
consistency policy would make it
But this is what
more
I'm saying,
fair.
even if you leave the consistency policy completely alone,
The last line of that says that things that do not conform, everything has to conform to general plan, right? But then it says, the way that you're gonna get this to conform to the general plan is by rezoning parcels that are not consistent with the general plan.
You have to amend the general plan.
It says, yeah, so there's still. a
Which
process.
Which I think is, I like that process. I don't have a
But
problem
we've
with
never
that
done that
process.
process yet.
I do like that process too.
Yeah.
Nobody's asked for it to
We're
general.
just trying to formalize the process.
So,
If you wanna leave it
it
in,
looks-
just give us direction if you want
Yeah,
to.
the way I,
We need to get together with
Whatever you wanna
the
do.
city council and figure something out that works for both parties. Because we don't, we're not privy to anything the public says. All we are is code readers. We don't know what you want, but we kind of know what we want. What helps preserve the integrity of the citizens.
Yeah, agreed.
As though,
alternate,
This is a little bit of a question. If, maybe I'm hearing wrong again, but it sounds like a huge headache to me if we had to change the general plan every time we make a zone change. That sounds like an administrative.
that would be only zone changes that would apply or that need to be done because it doesn't fit the general plan. So some that are okay in the general plan would never have that problem. It's just those areas that, for me, it's when I look at the community came together to create a general plan. This is what they want to see. Now, if we're trying to put if somebody's coming for a zone that they don't want in that area, that's when that would have to be changed. That's what it means to me. So
So what you're suggesting is take the purpose, and you're suggesting take the term general out of general plan?
But what I would think, and I, maybe what you guys are looking at. We need some more time on this to Put it together.
Oh,
How we
definitely,
wanna do
definitely.
that, As opposed to making a change right
Yeah,
now
you
without
would.
having that.
I would like.
So I would
staff and city council
recommend,
input.
or I would,
We could have Keith attend the next one too.
entertain a table
Before we go.
or whatever you want to do. whatever you wanna do.
So can staff look at maybe rewording the purpose and let us look at that also to make that fit the consistency policy, and then next month we can kind of compare the two and figure it out.
Well,
I
again.
really think.
Again, that's what I'm saying is we're gonna have to redo the purpose, we're gonna have to take the word general out of the general plan, right? Because it says it's a general
Or
guide.
take it out of general
So
guide.
just leave it to say, this is a general
Well,
plan.
I
It
think
is-
general plan is a.
well, when you're pulling that word general out of there, you're making it mandatory. That this general plan is mandatory. You have to use this.
They don't want that. Yeah, we don't want to change general.
Because there's also, I think if you change the purpose there, you've also got to change the consistency policy, because there's more than just zoning the location, streets, parks, utilities, and public buildings that would be a part of that. In the purpose, if you're going to change the purpose, you've got all land uses. We're talking about subdivisions, we're talking about site plans, we're talking about residential, commercial, all, if you've got to refer to the general plan to decide whether somebody can build a gas station in a commercial area up in Anderson Junction, that is so restrictive of the general plan.
Well, but it's required, it's allowed there.
Yeah.
Out there, so.
I'm just thinking you need to change both. I don't think you need to change one and not the other one. I think they both got to change if you're going to change.
Yeah. I think. you kind of-
Labeling.
The purpose and leave the policy so that things must be consistent.
Yeah.
Must be in conformance.
Riker, will you work on that and see if you can
Yeah.
put something that kind of brings them consistent, but still requires or doesn't eliminate the code that says must, shall, will, so it doesn't the repealer is not part of that.
Makes it consistent with our ordinance.
And if you could make it consistent with the ordinance, and I know that's a lot to kind of say go, but, and then planning commissioners, think about this, work on it, come up with some things that you like and want, and let's have a constructive meeting next time, putting something together. Okay, so
Yeah, I think there's actually a lot of work to be
I do
done on
too.
that. That's a big change. That's a big change.
Table.
Yeah, that's a big.
I think we can't get to a conclusion, so that's what we need to do.
So I make a motion that we table item
6.
E6.
E6.
I got a motion, I got a second.
Second.
Motion, a second. Take a vote.
Aye.
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 Okay, business item number 7, discussion on RV parks. Oh, yeah.
There it is.
That was the
Yeah,
one that we
okay.
really.
Lost my train of thought there, but now I'm good, okay. Yeah, this is the
Yes.
easy one. Well, I was thinking that
Yes,
I'd do a
thank
public
you.
hearing on that last one, but I did, so.
It really should be fairly easy.
We kind of went through
Beat
it.
this thing to death.
Yeah,
It's November, so.
okay, so discussion on
October.
RV parks. Does anybody have any comments before we open up the public hearing on this?
I'll comment after.
Okay, anybody?
Nope.
You guys good? We'll just.
Other than I went through and I checked everything that we asked to be changed and it's all done.
And it was there. Okay,
So-
all right.
Good job.
Including the butter.
Okay, so if I have no comments or concerns, then I will open this discussion up on RV parks. Public hearing, public input is sought on amending the RV park ordinance, Title 10, Chapter 29, Section 1 of the Tokerville City Code. If anybody has any comments, I now open up the public hearing.
Again, my name is Ray Betts from 370 West Shangri-La, and I don't know how applicable my comment will be, but because I just don't know, so you'll have to determine that. But what we're finding in the country now is RV parks are a place for homeless people, okay? People are losing their homes. I work in that business in California. Crime has gone up in those areas. California is reporting that, several newspapers, Orange County, LA. People don't have a place to live. So they use trailers and they make those into campers. And I've done that before. And so we're seeing a lot of that in this country. Repossessions of homes are starting to go up. Interest rates are going up. So when we originally moved here, we were told that any RV parks and all were going to be kept close to the freeway, to the 15 is what I mean. And now we're finding that there's talk even, as Jake had told Dean, down in the Shangri-La area. And that concerns us as citizens because we have to smell the marijuana. We have to hear the noise. Noise goes up. And so I would encourage you, if you're going to have RV parks, keep them out by the 15. But they need to be policed. They don't contribute anything to the tax base of the city. They really don't. So, and so we have real concerns about RV parks in where the residents live. So I'd like to just mention that.
Thank you. No, okay.
There's a lot of talk. I'm Jake Peart, 2332 West Bridgeview Drive, Hurricane. There's a lot of talk about nightly rentals and affordable housing and all these kinds of things and how nightly rentals affect the cost of people trying to buy a home. RV parks help you create more opportunity for tourists, making the demand for nightly rentals less, causing less people to want to have nightly rentals, making homes supposedly more affordable.
Charlotte Potter, Shangri-La Valley. Just one more thought. I also want you to think about when we're talking about RV parks, that people who are traveling around, and not anything against them, but they're just not as invested in the area that they're in as we would be. So I want somebody who's living or camping next to me to take care of it the same way that I would, to preserve it for everybody else that comes after us. And I just don't think this is a good idea. I like what Mr. Bentz said. If it's kept out there and it's policed, I think that's a great idea. But I think putting it in the backyard of a residential community is a terrible idea. Thanks.
Thank you. Any other comments? Okay, I will take a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll second it.
Have a motion and a second. Take a vote.
Aye.
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 Okay, Harvey ordinance. Yeah, I went through it as well. I think he hit everything that we were asking for. It
Yeah.
looked pretty decent to me.
Yeah.
If there's no further need for discussion on this, I would entertain a motion.
I recommend we send business item number, what is it, 7, discussion on the RV park ordinance. We recommend it with approval to the city council.
I've got a motion. I have a second.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further need for discussion? Take a vote.
Aye.
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 Okay. Yay. We got that one. It's out of our
That's
ear.
been a long one. That has been a long one.
Okay, now business item number 8, discussion on ordinance, consolidation of contiguous lots and parcels. Let me see if I pull it up. I'm gonna have to get rid of my screen lock. That doesn't work for me. Okay, so in item number 8, we've got a couple of letters. Did you guys, you've all looked at your packets, right? Are you familiar with the letters from the engineers and their recommendations? Have you seen that? Everybody see that?
Yeah.
Okay, no need to go over that then. Staff comments? I'm sorry. Okay, all right. That's a good point. Thank you for that. Okay. So this letter is from Rosenberg Associates. Darren asked them to give him an opinion. So
Can I
go ahead. You can.
go on record?
Yeah, you know what? I would love Riker to read this.
Well,
Thank
just,
you
I'd like
very much.
I'd like you to know what staff has done since our last meeting. And
Oh, well, I was going to get to the.
so that you understand where you're sitting now.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So just so you know, I met with Commissioner Eaton and we discussed the ordinance that was previously presented to you at the last Planning Commission meeting. We took his proposals and combined them into a single ordinance. And then that draft was given to our city attorney for legal review, and the ordinance that you have before you now is what was returned to us.
Okay. And if you would be so kind, I would love you to read these letters. If you need.
I don't know if you guys need to read the letters.
Well, and so it's for
It's-
public.
you could summarize them if you'd like, but
Okay.
so the reason you have those letters in your box is because last time Stacy and Commissioner Eaton, you guys asked me, you said, hey, we talked about this pretty in-depthly, and I just said, I am fine combining lots if we could figure out a mechanism that will remove the lot line on the county's website. I've talked with multiple surveyors. So then I just said, hey guys, these are the engineers and surveyors in our engineering pool that I asked. I said, please look at this and then give me your honest feedback. And I said, I'd appreciate it in a letter form that the commissioners can see and the city council can see as well. So when I did that, that's what came back. Now I've talked with Todd Jacobson, who is the city surveyor for St. George. I've talked with Arthur LeBaron, who is the city surveyor for Hurricane. They kind of gave me the same feel as what we were talking about before. I have not been able to talk to anybody else that can give me a straight answer that would give me a document that can be recorded or filed or something such that would remove that lot line from the county recorder's office. Now, I can show you multiple places. Well, I can show you one very grossly what should not have been done in the city as we changed the outside boundary of a subdivision. No, I shouldn't say we. The property owners changed the outside boundary of a recorded subdivision plat. And I talked to Ron Whitehead, who is the county surveyor, and asked him why he allowed that. He did not know that it happened. He says, we don't allow that when it's on an outside boundary of a subdivision. We don't allow that without a full amendment of the entire plat. So I'm like, how did that happen? He said, it must have got through somehow. We didn't realize what happened. Anyway, there's mistakes that have happened, but those mistakes, and like I say, and maybe Stacy has a form or something like that, or a different direction here. But what I've done is went to our surveyors and engineers and said, what's your thoughts? Because I don't know of any other type of a document that gets us to where we need to be than a partial amendment.
So just briefly, what were the recommendations from?
So the recommendations, and when I read through what Heath had did, I was like, that's drastically, yeah. But so the letters, basically, I asked them to go in and look at the state code that Stacy had brought up, because it says that a municipality may adopt an ordinance to combine two contiguous lots in a subdivision. This goes beyond that for me as a staff member, because there are so many instances. I think it should go further in that we ought to do something for parcel combinations. We have one on your agenda tonight, that zone change you're talking about. Okay, we need to combine these lots so that they have 20-acre parcels. There needs to be a process for that inside the city. I've talked with a few surveyors about that as well as our city surveyors. And then as I looked through the ordinance, the city attorney had written in there the process for parcels, combining parcels as well. And that's kind of a survey. That's what they call a record of survey. It's not recorded. It is filed at the county, but it would actually change those boundary lines, those lot lines, and it will show on the county ownership maps. That's what you look at when you go to the county map. You're looking at the ownership maps, and that amends those lines and puts them correct and shows correct parcels with correct acreages. So I think that my biggest problem, or my biggest concern with the whole deal, was that how do we get rid of the lot line? Because right now you can go down to the county recorder, treasurer's office, and you can take, if you own both those lots, you can go down, fill out a simple form, and they will make both your lots the same tax ID number. But it doesn't get rid of the lot line. It doesn't get, if there is easements. Now, Stacy's does not have any easement down the lot line. There are some that do. There are, excuse me, there are lots that, there's parcels of ground that actually, I'm losing my voice again, and I'm not even drinking Rockstar. But
I need one. So,
Sorry, go ahead.
She wouldn't like that. But so I guess really where I'm coming at, I have no problem figuring that out without going through an amended plat parcel or process. But so far, no one has produced anything to me that will do it without amending a portion of that plat. And that's why I.
The amended plats must meet. Nope, I'm sorry. The combining of boundary, altering, or platted lots in a recorded subdivision should be formalized with a partial plat amendment. And I saw that in both letters. And so, I mean, it's definitely above. I mean, I looked at it and said, hey, simple subdivision, why not a simple lot? And it kind of makes sense.
So I didn't have those guys talk together and come up with the letters. I
don't believe that I think they would be professional enough to give us an opinion.
I asked them to do it separately.
Okay. Any other? We're good over.
So that's really the to where I've came to at this point. I didn't realize that Heath was going to make the edits that he made to that document. I did not know that. I didn't do that.
Okay, I will, if you have any questions, we'll kind of get the info out, and then I'll have a public hearing. So do you guys have any other questions for staff, comments or any? Okay. All right, then we will open this up for a public hearing. What item am I on now? 8? Yeah. Okay, public hearing, public input is sought on ordinance consolidation of contiguous lots and parcels. The public hearing is now open. If you have any comments, please step up to the microphone.
Chris Butterworth, Joker Heights. Until passes, sorry. Yeah, for what ex-Mayor Lefevre used to say. It'd be nice to see that in writing. People just can't come and change all the lots, just by going down to the recorder's office and saying, oh, I'm going to take that lot, and, it's not available for other people. So I just have to caution. So yeah, I'd like to be able to see something in writing that allows some protection for that.
Thank you.
Anita Eaton. I am a little confused as to where this ordinance came from because it wasn't made available to the public. The only item that was out under the what was posted with the state is the red line version. So
Both were.
also, I know if I go into a tire shop and I ask them whether the tread on my tire is good or bad, they're going to tell me it's bad and I need to get new tires. So by going to an engineer, a shop that contains engineers who write legal descriptions or do surveys as their livelihood, of course they're going to come back and say that you need to have a completely new legal description when the legal description happens to be lot 1 of subdivision ABC and lot 2 of subdivision ABC, which the lots, nothing changes about the outward perimeter of those lots. It's only the combination of those lots. So I can do a lot line adjustment inside of a subdivision without having to go through a platted issue, without having to have it resurveyed and have a new Mylar and everything else that may or may not be in this ordinance that was not available to the public. Or I could just go to the county and say, I want to combine these. So I would hope that Tokerville City would actually have an avenue so somebody could do it within the city instead of skirting around the city as some others may have done previously by allowing for to be able to combine this. As reference for your comment, no, nobody's going to come and say, oh, I own the lot here and I want to combine this one with mine and take your lot. They have to actually own 2 lots, have it deeded in their names, and then show that they are the rightful owner of those 2 lots. Thank you.
Gary Chaves, 226 Mountain Charm. I have 2 lots that were combined through lot line adjustment. And if you look at the map, I still have a line showing them as 2 lots. Pardon me?
Yours is not a recorded subdivision.
Oh, it's not within a subdivision? The same thing. Okay. But what we're talking about is the same thing. The fact that I still have a line there and it doesn't show it as 1 lot when they are combined. So it might be more efficient to.
Does it have the same tax ID number on both lots?
I believe it does. Yes, it does. Right, Darren? I think it does. So, but anyway, it just simplifies the process.
Any other comments? Okay, we'll take a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
Got a motion and a second, take a vote.
Aye.
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 Okay,
Okay.
you got it. It's your floor right now, buddy.
So I have several problems with this do written deal here. And even the letters. Because it is written by somebody who does have a conflict of interest. Because that is their business to do all that.
Before we say that, just one second, not to, well, to interrupt you. These are, you used Rosenberg and who they don't have a conflict of interest on this particular thing because they're actually they work for the city.
Okay,
They're our engineering pool, they're staff.
okay, I'll leave that.
Yeah.
So,
So I just.
right, another problem I have is a lot of the information that staff has, you didn't share with us. I find it puzzling that you showed these two letters, yet you didn't show the comments from the county surveyor that you spoke with, because he did lay out a plan to be able to do it. Nor, I mean, we've got so we have the county surveyor, we have the county recorder, the county assessor, and the county planning and zoning have all said, this is too cumbersome. They laid out a plan for us to be able to do this in a very simple manner, and I've explained that to you, to staff, and it's just dismissed. I understand that you want, that staff wants this whole thing, and from what the attorney wrote, Mylars, and I don't know if that's what part of the information that you gave him or not, but it's too cumbersome. The county doesn't require, if we lived in an unincorporated county, we don't have to go through all this. All we have to do is go down to county recorder's office, make a copy of the plat, let's say 2 lots. Thank you. So you take, if I want to combine 2 lots, I make a copy of that. I then make another copy with the line missing. If it's in a subdivision, instead of lot 1 and 2, if there's a home on it, then you pick that lot, and that's the new lot number. And then you also put the verbiage that is in this ordinance, and you record that. And that is all they require. That's it. So Gary, you could go down, do that exact thing, and they'll let you do it. And that's all there is. And so there's an instrument that makes this extremely simple. So anybody could go in and record, change the boundaries of a subdivision, I guess. That doesn't make it right. And it wouldn't hold up in court. But we're not saying changing the boundaries of a subdivision. If it's in a subdivision, it has to be contiguous lots. It has to be shared boundaries, not corners. It has to be owned by the same people, which the county requires that. It can be a very simple process, and that is what the state, with the state statute, that's what they have in mind, of making it a very simple process and not overly cumbersome of basically modifying a subdivision. I don't get this. I wish you would at least put comments from who you spoke with, Ron Whitehead, because he said something different. So when that's omitted, it just doesn't look good.
So when I did talk with Ron, okay, he told me something different than he told you. He told me that when they drafted that and put that together, I asked him, I said, what is the correct process? He says, to amend the plat. I said, okay, well, why don't you require that? Why will you just let somebody go do that? He says, because it's a very political thing with the county commissioners. And so I thought, all right, I guess maybe I should have put that in your comments, and I apologize for not putting that in your comments. But if you feel like you'd like to go sit down, Stacy, I'm not against this by any means, but all I'm looking for is something that helps us to get where we need to be, that we can track this with inside the city, so that we know that this is happening. Because I come down to it, and it's why do we even do a subdivision then? Why do we record a plat? Why did we make Jesse Olds go through all of that trouble of doing it if we didn't want subdivisions, if we don't want these types of things? If we want to just change them.
Subdivision is much different than combining 2 lots.
Well,
we're not saying you can just
go look at Gary Chaves' area down there. It looks like it's a subdivision when it is not. It's just parcels of ground along a roadway that look like a subdivision. That's all it is. It's a meets and bounds type of descriptions of their properties. So it's not part of a subdivision. There's a difference between parcels, as you know, and there's a difference between lots. And I don't have a problem with that. If you want to go sit down with Ron Whitehead, and if he can do that, and I would love to change all the other cities, but I don't think you're going to get them to change.
We don't need to change the cities, we just have Tokerville.
I get you, but
So I get it's frustrating to you because you come from that background and this is what you know, and I get that.
right.
But I don't think we need to be making it overly cumbersome. And from what Riker and I sat down and wrote up, this is way different.
I did not write that. Know that. So, but
That's the revision that came back from Heath, yes.
that is the version that came. Yeah, exactly. So, essentially, I gave him the direction to talk to the same city surveyors, and I said you ought to call Ron Whitehead as well. So,
See, and I chatted with Pratt Engineering. He's like, oh, this is simple. Just the same process that I just described. He's like, let us do it because we can pull it up and make it all look pretty, but it's the same process. So
Yeah, we have, and as far as going to Pratt, that's fine. We have 8 engineers in our engineering pool. So these 2 letters are from staff. My biggest concern with this ordinance right now, outside of the drafting or this or that, my concern is with what Anita said. Was this final version published for the public hearing?
I don't see it.
If
in
it
there.
wasn't,
I
then
don't see it.
we've done
we
something
need to go
wrong.
to a public hearing.
I've looked.
right,
If
it
this was
wasn't.
not public noticed,
No.
this needed to be public noticed.
I agree.
I do see the red line, but I
Yeah.
don't see the other one.
I can see that, but that's not this.
Right.
Those are considerably different. I'm looking
Yeah,
at
they
it.
And that's my issue is they're
These are
so different.
considerably different.
Yeah.
So this should have been public notice.
We-
That's
There was a mistake. Yeah,
There was a public notice.
But it just.
But it's the red line.
But the one that says the ordinance was not part of
With
it.
the whereas.
And if this came after
Yeah,
the ordinance,
agreed.
then,
We need to-
then what's the
She sees
purpose of the 10-day public notice?
Agreed.
I agree 100%.
Agreed. We need to go back and.
A mistake made there.
Yeah, I can make a motion to this table. That's-
This is a moot point.
Yeah.
You're gonna have to table it.
Yeah, and
If this was not public notice.
I'm just gonna, hold on just a second. I'm gonna give the other commissioners
She'll be back.
a chance to ask a question or comment or anything like that, so we don't.
One of the thing that really stood out to me as I read through this is the cumbersome, having to have Mylars and having to have engineers' stamps and notarized. And in some cases, but if not, if it's your own property and you're combining a property line or you're removing a property line. But anyway, I was impressed with how cumbersome the process is here.
Just.
You have to have a professional engineer
And that's
to
what they
do
want.
any of it, yeah.
So the current process that we've gone through already, some of those lot combinings that we've had have gone through a partial plat amendment. Is that?
Yeah.
What did we require from them? Did we require this?
Pretty much.
Pretty basically.
Yeah, but the same
All of
thing. It's like I say, I did not give direction to Heath. Heath just followed what's typically been done, I believe. Well, I don't believe it. It's
I
very.
was just curious if we added more in that or what we had already have done.
And it's like Stacy was saying,
Okay.
this is the way I've seen it done.
Eventually be some kind of guideline. If Jake's gonna end up changing a bunch of property lines to make MU 20s,
And he's gonna have to do all.
there's gotta be
he's
some
gonna have to
guidelines
have it
for
surveyed
that
and all of it.
someplace.
There's no guideline for him to do that.
Right,
just
so
go-
right now he would have to amend, but what I'm proposing, he wouldn't be able to do it because there's.
He
more than
would.
multiple homes.
So there's general engineering and survey standards and of the, that when surveyors and engineers take that oath, of being a civil engineer. I would hope that some of them and surveyors, I would hope that all of them take that as a serious oath, that they're going to follow the state statutes, that they're going to try, and they're going to follow those general engineering standards. They're not going to go off on some whim and design a bridge that doesn't hold up. Those types of
The
things.
state allows it, and we can already do it. Why are we not conforming and make it simple? For me, I just think, let's simplify certain
Well,
processes.
and it comes right down to that may, that word may in the code.
Correct.
So-
But if the planning commission's wanting to do it,
Yep.
then we need to.
I'm staff. I will do what the city council is my boss, and I will do what they ask me to do.
So I would make a motion that we table this, work on this, throw that one away that he threw out, and sorry.
I think there's some good things in that Heath, if we take out this, if you were to take out that top part
Bottom part,
and use that part. Oh,
Let's have this conversation after the
But-
motion. I want to.
yeah.
so I make a motion to table it and work on it.
Okay.
It wasn't public.
Well, and it wasn't public
thing.
notice either. I
second.
I think I heard a second, but I've got a second.
I beat her
second.
to it.
Aye.
No,
Aye.
now I
Okay.
need to say, let's take a vote.
Aye.
Aye.
I,
Aye.
okay. Let's,
I make a motion that we take a 5-minute break.
yes.
Second?
Second.
I got a motion second.
I get to get there first.
Okay, go ahead.
I did already.
I don't know these formal things, so.
Coming to the fastest one. The 9. That'll be fast. Okay.
I want to go with you. I said, I want to go with you. All right, let's do this.
Okay.